Well, hello everybody, and welcome yet again to another live stream. And we are continuing on our decoding of the Gospel of Thomas. We are now up to part 4. I did say previously whether you guys wanted to have a bit of a break and maybe do a video about, something else, or discussion about something else. But I think what we'll do is just steam ahead and just get this done and continue on until we do finish. So that way at least we know it's done and we don't kind of lose our momentum. Okay, so that's what I think would probably be the best when it comes to decoding, and translating and interpreting rather a gospel and a scripture as important as the Gospel of Thomas, because as we know, the Gnostic Christians were the real Christians. Okay, the Christians we have today are not Christians at all. They're Christians in name only. They are literally a supporter of evil, okay, because the Catholic Church is the canon that they all use to interpret their scriptures from. Now, I don't care if there's tiny little changes that they make to give the appearance that they're not following Catholic canon. Like, sometimes, they will say that, the Catholics are different because they say that you have to engage in the works, and some Christians believe it's just by grace alone that you get into heaven, you get into God's good books just by him liking you and wanting to be your bestie, simply because you've praised him heaps, because that's all these modern Christians do. They don't actually engage in anything that Jesus instructed them to do, i.e. to emulate him. They just praise him and worship him and treat him as though he is some type of pop star, celebrity rock star, because that's pretty much the mentality of the masses. They are all caught up in the cult of personality and the cult of appearances. And so you will not find one verse in the Bible. I have asked modern Christians time and time again to provide me one verse in the Bible where Jesus himself, okay, I don't care what everybody else is saying about Jesus, I'm talking about the man himself. I want one Christian to show me, and I say that, when I say modern Christian, when I relate to these times, I'm talking about modern Christians. So I would like one modern Christian to show me just one verse where Jesus calls himself God or God the Father. I don't want a verse where Jesus says, I am, or I am that I am, or I and the Father are one. Because if I and the Father were one means that he is God, then he would just say, I am the Father. Okay, he wouldn't actually explain it in a way where there is any separation at all. He would just say, I am God the Father. He wouldn't say, I and the Father are one. So when he says, I and the Father are one, he is talking about the Spirit of God is working through him. He is the direct extension on the physical plane of God the Father. He is the firstborn son of God the Father, and therefore he is the direct extension of God the Father. Remember how I said look to the anchor symbolism? You see, these modern Christians don't understand symbolism. Even though Jesus told them that the Bible wasn't a culted work, and I have done a live stream about that, showing on many different occasions where Jesus has said that the Bible isn't a culted work. It is written in code, and the parables are just stories. Okay, but they take all the parables literally. Okay, and this is because their clergy tell them to take the parables literally, because they don't think for themselves. They just follow what the clergy tells them, to believe, and the clergy are following a narrative. That's why all the clergy are on the same page. It doesn't matter if you've got a really cool clergy, and he dresses, really hip. really, you've got your hipster clergy out there. I've seen them on YouTube shorts, these YouTube preachers. They have the hipster look about them. They talk in the hipster way and really cool, really modern, and yet they're still preaching the exact same narrative that every other clergy out there is preaching. And don't you find it interesting that we're living in these times right now, and you can literally go and check mark, biblical revelation, like literally revelation. We are now living, we are living in a time of corruption and evil, and it was spoken about in the Bible. There's also a verse, a parable in the Colburn Bible, the Celtic text of the Cole book. I've actually done a video about this if you want to look at my video playlists and my videos, the prophecy of Jesus, and he's literally describing word for word like everything that is happening right now, including transgenderism. Okay, so it's all playing out right before our very eyes. And can you tell me any of the mainstream religious organizations that are warning their congregation, that are speaking about these times? Oh no, apparently, according to them, these times, the revelation already happened, So, I mean, you just can't help these people. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the real scriptures that haven't been, not to say that the Bible isn't real, okay? So I just want to make that clear, that what the Catholic Church have done is taken the Gospels and then they have bastardized them. They have changed them up, they have rewritten them, edited them, omitted things, added things, okay? And so they've completely bastardized the Bible. But if you understand this knowledge to the level that you should when you're reading the Bible and studying the scriptures, you can see where they have bastardized the texts. Unfortunately, because modern Christians are too scared to look outside of that one book, they'll never know that, because they're also frightened of knowledge, okay? And if you actually are someone that goes and does what Jesus instructed them to, and that is seek and ye shall find. He never said seek with the clergy only. Okay, he never said, in fact, I don't think there is any verses, and please correct me if I'm wrong, where Jesus ever says to follow the clergy and do what the clergy tell you and go to church and listen to priests. I don't think there's anything where he actually speaks in any high regard of the clergy. And while he is away, while he has left the garden, that we should just put our absolute faith into the clergy and not engage in our own intellectual thinking and understanding of the scriptures. Now, a lot of the times, the modern Christians, when you are actually, trying to interpret the scriptures yourself using your own God-gifted intellect, or looking into other scriptures outside of the books that the Catholic Church put together, they will say that the Bible tells you not to, or Jesus tells you not to lean on your own understanding. No, that means don't just try and interpret the scriptures in the Bible based on your own frickin' ignorance. Because these people, and I see them, oh my God, at the moment, it is so funny. You see these modern Christians, these YouTube Christians, and they think that when they get their Bible and they make lots of lines under verses and they put little notes down. And I mean, there was this one woman yesterday and her Bible was literally 3 times the size it should be because of all of her little stick-it notes that she put there. And that, of course, makes her appear to be so wise, doesn't it? Because, I mean, her whole Bible is full of little notations and lines and little notes. And these people are just deluding themselves that they can read these parables and understand them when they don't have any other knowledge. The only way that you will actually understand the scriptures is if you go and look to all the other knowledge, because it's fragmented. And you have to actually go and look at the other scriptures, and that's all the holy texts of every other culture, because all knowledge comes from a single source, unless people are telling me that there's multiple creators out there, and he, these multiple creators all created a different race and gave them different information. I mean, that is immature to even, and so ignorant to even try and suggest that that's the case. Okay, there is one creator, not one creator for Christians, one creator for Muslims, one creator for the Hindu, one creator for the Jews, or those who follow Judaism, because they're actually not the Jews that we learn about in the Bible, the divine ones. Okay, they are just a group of people who are all of a certain racial and genetic similarity, who have taken the name of Jews for themselves. Okay, because the only real Jews are the divine, and the only way we know who the divine are is when they are illuminated, and that will happen at the divine time. Okay, God knows his own, and God scattered his own to the four ends of the earth and will bring them back together at that time. I don't know if anybody has paid attention, but in 1947 it wasn't God bringing back these people calling themselves Jews and putting them in a land that was once Palestine. It was the Catholic Church and the politicians that did that. Okay, and that is so they can seek to continue to confuse us, divide us, and mock the Creator and the divine. Okay, because we can see the way that the people that are now living in this country that they have named Israel do not act in any way, shape or form as godly and divine people. Okay, just look at what they're doing to the Palestinians. So let's not go there. But all I am saying is that you cannot understand the scriptures unless you actually go and study all of the other esoteric tools, and that includes symbolism, that includes mythology, all of the other ancient texts, including all of the other holy texts. Do not be afraid to read the Quran. The Quran has a lot of similarities to the Bible, by the way. When you start reading the Quran, you start to see a lot of similarities. The only difference really is that they haven't made Jesus God. Okay? And they were very, very intent on not falling into idolatry, though they ended up falling into idolatry anyway, because the higher level clergy in the Muslim, in Islam, are also corrupted. Muhammad actually warned that the higher level clergy in Islam would become corrupted, and that it would just, the whole religion in the last days would just resemble Islam, but in name and appearance only, because it would be devoid of any real spirituality. It's interesting how Muslims, like modern Christians, have ignored a lot of the teachings in their own scriptures, and they just follow what the clergy tell them to do. So there is nothing in the Quran that actually tells them to go to Mecca every year and touch a black stone. The hadiths are not the Quran, and this is where people get very, very confused, because a lot of people don't understand Islam and they don't understand the text. So Islam has a holy text called the Quran. Okay, that is the only holy text of Islam, just the Quran. The hadiths are as though one of the popes, say 1500 years ago, 1300 years ago, I mean, some of the hadiths were even written around 1200 years ago, 1000 years ago, by just the clergy, okay, by someone who's claiming to be enlightened. So it's just as though if we had a pope, 1200 years ago, starting to write some scriptures and include it in the Bible. Okay, now that would be heresy according to the Catholic Church, and because nothing is to be taken or added to the scriptures. I mean, that is part of why you try and keep the purity of the scriptures. We know that the Catholic Church is infiltrated by the Antichrist, so that's all they've been doing for the last 1700 years. And so it would be very naive and borderline willfully ignorant to not believe the same is happening to Islam and, Hinduism and Buddhism and Judaism and all of the other major religious organizations. So they've all been infiltrated and they've all been bastardized. And so what they've done with Islam now is that they have made the hadiths as important as the Quran. Okay, and that is incorrect. Okay, the hadiths are not the Quran, and sometimes you will see where they try to say that Muhammad was a pedophile and he married a 6-year-old girl. I've heard 9-year-old girl, 6-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl. The fact that people can't get the actual age right is because there is no actual verse that says the age of the girl. Okay, they've just manipulated and twisted and interpreted it that way. But it's a hadith. It's not the Quran. Okay, so ignore the hadiths are not the Quran. Okay, so if you want to read another holy text, as I said, you cannot guarantee that these texts haven't had some tweaking and some manipulations. But when you start reading all of the literature, okay, and it's going to take you many years. This is not a subject that you just, occasionally visit every now and then because you are a little bit curious. If that's the case, then you're probably doing more harm than good to your spirit, okay, because it really doesn't show that you are committed to being a seeker of knowledge, okay, and that is known on a universal level, okay, universal mind, the all, God knows, okay, so if you're not really committed to understanding this knowledge, it's probably more harmful to your spirit to actually listen into this knowledge and then just ignore it and just treat it like some novelty than it is just to perhaps just go about your day-to-day activities, just being a good person, and perhaps you're kind enough that your soul will be light enough to pass the coming weighing of the heart. But anyway, when you read all the literature, you will start to see all the similarities in the teachings, and then you will start to see where the higher level clergy have gone on to bastardize the texts. And so the reason that it's so important to read the Nag Hammadi Gospels is that they haven't been bastardized by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church literally just ignore them. Okay, there are other books out there like the Book of Enoch and other books where the Catholic Church actually mention them and say, well, you can't rely on them 100% to be accurate because they haven't been approved by the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not saying that they're not accurate. I'm just saying I find it interesting how that they will make mention and acknowledge the Book of Enoch, but they just absolutely ignore the Nag Hammadi Gospels. They don't talk about them at all. So that's why it's important that we read and understand these scriptures, because they are the scriptures in the purest form that we have. We know that because they were only discovered in 1945, and so nobody has had a chance to bastardize these. There are a few different translations, but they don't differ too much. I've got both the translations underneath this video, and I do suggest you read both translations because it's always good to have more information when it comes to an understanding of these texts. It just gives you more of a depth of understanding. Okay, so now that I've done the little introduction, let's kind of go back to where we were last time. Now, we stopped at 20. So I'm just going to reiterate 20 just to make sure that we did that, because I can't remember whether we did or not. And then we will move forward from there. So 20 was the disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what heaven's kingdom is like." And he said to them, "It's like a mustard seed, the smallest of seeds. But when it falls on prepared soil, it produces a large plant and becomes a shelter for birds in the sky." So again, this is pretty much just telling you that the person in possession of truths, the person that goes and studies the truths and seeks out divine knowledge, is not going to be somebody that you will assume has this knowledge, because it's not going to be someone with millions of subscribers. It's not going to be someone who's attached to a religious organization. It's going to be someone who has found the knowledge and who has the motivation to seek it out and to seek out the truth. And so that just starts with a very small understanding or a small motivation to seek out knowledge. I mean, it just starts with the first step, doesn't it, guys? I mean, when you want to seek out knowledge, what do? You just start, okay? You just start. And that's pretty much what that is saying. And so it's not about the person being great. It's not about the person being, by the standards of modern humanity, someone very wise and knowledgeable. It's the person who just goes and starts seeking out the knowledge. And when that person meets the correct knowledge and continues to research and study into that knowledge, and that's the part where it says when it falls on prepared soil, okay, so good soil, that good soil is the knowledge that is in its purest form, that the text that we have still some remnants of, and that produces something much larger. And not in these times, because we are not going to know or have any rewards for our studies and research into this knowledge in these times, because these are all parts of our tests. Okay, I've been studying this information and I've been repeating myself over and over again for 12 years. And it has now just started to unfold. A lot of the warnings that I was making, 5, 6, 10 years ago, okay, are just starting to unfold now. I did upload a video in 2016 warning that they were going to play out a pandemic on us and they were going to use it to take away our freedoms and lock us down. And that did actually come to pass in 2020. So I'm a little bit ahead of the times when it comes to revealing all of the plans that the evil in control of our world have for us, but that's only because I have really actually buckled down into my studies. I mean, I literally lived this knowledge for probably about 7, 8 years. It was my full-time job, was studying this knowledge, was understanding this knowledge. I lived it. I breathed it. It was the total focus of my life for a very long time. And so that afforded me some insights into the people who have now taken control of our world. And so that helped me to confirm that I was on the right path. When I made that forecast, okay, and I said, yes, you should prepare. They're going to play a pandemic out on us. They're foreshadowing, and they always foreshadow what they're going to do to us. And most people ignored me, or they, called me names, mocked me like they've always done. And it did actually come to pass. And that video is still up. Okay, and it's interesting that none of the people who were mocking me and actually, calling me names and hating on me have ever actually contacted me to apologize for that in relation to that video. I'm not talking about people that have just turned up out of the blue 10 years later to try and befriend me once again after betraying me, unforgivably betraying me, by the way. No, I'm talking about just people who, around that time when I was making, and it wasn't just one video. I mean, I was posting that on social media and was getting nothing but mocking and criticism. But anyway, so it just goes to show me that when that happened, that I am definitely on the right path, and they were planning that when I did, actually identify it. And so I would suggest that if I was right on that, then maybe I'm right on other things too. So I suppose, and I'm not saying that everyone should just believe me and what I say. I'm actually saying that if I got that right, then maybe what I've researched is worth actually looking into a little bit further. That's all I'm saying. All right, so yeah, it produces a larger plant and becomes a shelter for the birds in the sky. So So literally the birds, anytime you see symbolism of a bird, it is relating to the soul. And, the souls in the sky, that is relating to the ethereal realm, okay? And that is where part of our soul always resides anyway, even though it is in our physical body. There is a part of us that is always still attached to the ethereal realm. And so anyone that understands this knowledge can provide that benefit for other souls if they want to continue on and take the knowledge and then make it part of their own experience and their own journey. Because that is what I say to everybody. Don't just believe me and what I'm telling you, because guess what? That's not enough. That just stays a belief. All right, you're never going to actually understand the knowledge to the level that you should when you're just listening to me and believing in me. That is basically building your house on sand, and your roots are shallow. Okay, if you want to look at and symbolism in relation to that, that's how you can see it. Okay, to make your roots deep, to really get this knowledge, to build your house on stone, you need to go and research this subject and do it until it is a very deep understanding. It becomes knowledge. It becomes, it beyond all doubt. Okay, and when you know this knowledge beyond all doubt, you no longer have a fear of death, and that's where you want to be. And that's a good way to test whether you have got this knowledge to the level that you need, because a lot of people can fool themselves into believing that they have this knowledge and have a good grasp of this knowledge. But a good way to test if you have a good grasp of this knowledge is if you fear death. And if you have any fear of death at all, any doubt, okay, I'm not saying that's, it could be okay. It could be. No, you need to know it without a doubt and have no fear of death at all. I'm not saying I don't have a fear of pain, by the way, that's different. I don't want to go out in a really painful, horrible way. But death itself, I do not fear, okay? And pain is something that, that you just have to deal with, I suppose. And I suppose that's why the Antichrist loved to torture people as well. So, let's not go down that path. But as a fear of death, no. Okay, so that's where you want to be. You don't want to have a fear of death. Okay, so that's like basically, say you get cancer. All right, you don't go running to the doctors to go heal you. Okay, you just say, well, I got cancer. Okay, and I'll go and search out natural remedies and try and lessen the pain that I will experience from this disease. But hey, that's my fate. That's it. Now I'm not saying that you might have some physical ailment that is easily diagnosed and healed by a doctor, as in, some antibiotics, an infection, a broken leg. I mean, there are levels, okay? There are degrees to everything. I'm talking a fatal disease that Big Pharma need to literally just keep you alive, okay, with their medications and irradiating you for you to have maybe another 6 more years, 10 more years of life, and then probably die anyway. Because I think last time I looked, chemotherapy only has like about a 3 or 4% success rate, okay, because people just go into remission and then the cancer pretty much comes back even worse. So that's what I'm talking about, okay? It's like you have to understand that death is just a part of life. It's just an exit and an entry into the physical plane. That's all it is, okay? And yes, it's sad when we lose somebody on the physical plane that we know and love. Yes, that's sad, and of course we're going to grieve that person's loss, that person no longer being in our physical experience, especially children, and of course that's not going to be a happy situation, but you have to understand that they just pass over into the ethereal realm, and the way that it works is that they will actually enter back into the physical realm again within your inner circle, within your, especially if they're close to you, children, family members, very close friends. We are tied to them. We are destined to be tied to them over multiple incarnations. So they could actually reincarnate once again as another family member, perhaps not part of your own family, perhaps part of another family, like within your close family, but that's how it works. Okay, that is how divine operation works on the physical plane. All right, so that just helps you to understand when you're at a good level of understanding, fear of death gone. Okay, you don't want that fear of death. So let us now go into 21. Okay, and Mary said to Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" And he said, "They are like little children living in a field that is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, 'Give us back our field.' They take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back to them, and they return their field to them. For this reason I say, if the owners of a house know a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives and will not let the thief break into their house, their domain, and steal their possessions. As for you then, be on guard against the world. Prepare yourselves with great strength so the robbers cannot find a way to get you, for the trouble you expect will come. Let there be among you a person who understands. When the crop ripened, he came quickly carrying a sickle and harvested it. Anyone here with 2 good ears better listen." It's interesting. Let's unpack that, right? But I just want to focus on that last bit there because it just reminds me of the modern Christians and the clergy of the modern Christians and how they never talk about the parable of the wheat and tares. Do you find it's really interesting when you see these YouTube preachers? They always cherry pick the really ambiguous parables that they can twist around and manipulate into something that sounds really good. Normally that Jesus is our bestie and that, if you go to church every Sunday, then he's going to favor you over everybody else. But they never actually discuss the parable of the wheat and tares and what that actually means. And, well, how can they when they've actually fooled most of their congregations into believing that before all the bad shit happens, they're just going to be whisked away in the rapture and they're going to be saved, because Jesus is going to return and he's going to save them all. Okay, they don't actually say how that's going to happen because apparently Jesus is a peace-loving hippie that doesn't like violence, but somehow, some way, magically, Jesus arrives, evil disappears without him having to do anything. They're all his bestie. They sit around the campfire singing Kumbaya. He's carrying a little lamb, not a sword. And somehow then they all just get whisked away up into the clouds, into heaven forever and ever and ever. It's funny that you can't find any of that in the Bible. Yet that is what these mindless, ignorant people have been fooled into believing. But anyway, it's pretty clear in the Gospel of Thomas that judgment is coming, okay? The sickle is a representation of the sorting between the wheat and the tares. It's also the weighing of the heart, last judgment. We see that Saturn also represents the sickle as well, and that is because Saturn represents time and the timing of the cycle, the timing of the great year. And we are now at the last degree. We are in the last degree of the great year. We are in the Iron Age and we are about to move into the Golden Age. But before we move into the Golden Age, the dross will be removed. And that is what the harvesting will be. The harvesting of souls. Those who were not aligned with divine law, those who transgressed divine law, brought about their own destruction. And they were helped to destroy themselves by the antichrists who have now taken control of our world and are infiltrating and have infiltrated every single part of our society. This is why they are basically socially engineering us to accept these most degenerate beliefs as though they are normal. Okay, they are destroying us. They are destroying the sacredness of a male and woman by, basically mocking us and turning us into the opposite gender and then telling our children that they can be the opposite gender. You know, there are parents that are not even giving their child a gender. Can you imagine what it must be like as a little kid to have to grow up with those types of very evil people instructing you in the ways of the world and teaching you? It is just a travesty what is happening to our population, and most people are just going along with it because we're all brainwashed. You know, we're pretty much all socially engineered just to continue going along with it, because over the last 100 years we've been socially engineered to trust our politicians as though they are our gods, and to trust our clergy, and to believe everything they say, and that they have our best interests at heart. And so we just never actually question that. And those who do question that are a very small part of society, and then they are painted as conspiracy theorists, and they are actually led down other false paths by controlled opposition, so that it actually does make them look like they're crazy. And then they can use that against those who actually aren't aligned with the evil in control of our world, aren't aligned with the control opposition shills and the conspiracies that they're pushing, but still get caught up in all of that. And that's what's going to happen to all of us. We're all going to get caught up in the controlled opposition, alternative, conspiracy faction of our society. We're going to be lumped in with them. So get ready for that. So anyway, so if we go back and he says, what are your disciples like? So we know that the disciples are divine, right? And we all know what divine is, because if you're listening into this live stream, hopefully you've listened into all of the other live streams, and I have explained multiple times about divine souls as opposed to mortal souls. So I will just reiterate that, just for those who are joining this stream for the first time, that there are a group of divine souls within humanity, 288 divine souls within humanity. And they are the first extension of the Creator on the physical plane. And they are divine in degrees. It goes from the firstborn, who holds the divine portion within, to the highest degree. And then it goes down from there in degrees all the way to the demigods. The demigods were created within their mother's womb while they were created by the Creator and begotten. Okay, they weren't actually birthed through a human birth onto the physical plane. And they represent the two highest degrees within the divine souls. So we can see them as the gold and the silver. The bronze are the demigods. And so the divine female was seated upon her creation with the demigod, with already in her womb. This is what we see, the Immaculate Conception. That's what that means. And the Virgin Mary, that is what she represents. Okay. And then from that conception that happened upon the creation of the divine female, she births the demigod onto the material plane. And that is the link between the gods and mortal man. So that is the demigod. He is half God and half man. And when I say God, I'm talking about little g. Okay, so there's God the Father, or the All, and I've said many times, God is androgynous, okay, male and female, but I just prefer to see God in the male form, okay, but that's just my personal way of describing God. You can see God as a female if you like, if that's what you choose. It doesn't matter, just as long as you understand there's one Creator who is androgynous. He has produced 288 divine souls. The demigods were birthed on the material plane by the divine female. And then from the demigod, you have the mortal man, and they also go down in degrees as well. Okay, so everything happens in degrees from highest to lowest. That's the principle of correspondence. And we can also see that as the macrocosm and the microcosm. So as above, so below. And so those 288 souls, they are immortal, okay? And they move through the cycles, the great year, regardless of their transgressions, with divine law, because they are immortal, Okay, they will move through. But the mortals who are not divine, they will need to align themselves with divine law. And when they transgress divine law, they bring about their own destruction. So it's not that God is destroying the transgressor. The transgressor is destroying himself, because he knows what's right and wrong. We all have an inherent understanding of what is right and wrong. And when we transgress outside of divine law, and so, we lie or we steal or we cheat or we be deceitful in some way, we know that that is something that we have done, because we get that feeling within us. We know it's not right. We don't feel at ease about it. There's something within us that tells us that what we did isn't right. We can just move forward and forget it and ignore it, but that will eventually play on our minds, and that will express itself in other ways that are not healthy for us. Okay, a lot of people need to drink, do drugs, whatever, to forget their transgressions, or to come to terms with their transgressions. There are some within our society, and this group are actually expanding, and they are psychopaths, and so they actually have cut themselves off from feeling any emotional reaction to their transgressions at all. They've just cut off all of that inherent feeling when you do move outside of divine law. They've just cut that off completely. They're completely severed their connection to their heart and their mind too, because heart and mind work together. And even your soul, because you get that gut feeling as well, and they've cut all connection off from that. And so they are psychopaths, and they don't feel any remorse for anything that they do. And they are the most dangerous around us, because they can mirror you, okay? And I've had a lot of dealings with psychopaths in my years, okay, who have tried to infiltrate my inner circle, and some have been successful, by the way. In the early years, I was very naive, and when you don't operate in that way, you can't imagine people are like that, because you just expect that people just are like you. And when you aren't like that, then it's, quite a shock when you realize that there really are people that are evil and deceitful, and they have no problem being deceitful and attaining a means to an end, or their agenda. And so they will mirror you. They will say, they will appear to be just like you, and mirror you, and mirror your, the way you behave, and what you teach, and what you relay, and the knowledge that you relay. And we've experienced this, and the other students will. It's not just me. I have had personal experiences where they have actually, infiltrated my very personal inner circle, to the point where I have trusted them, to have interactions with them on a personal level. And there is no greater betrayal than when somebody has infiltrated you on that very personal level, and then they use that against you, because it's always been an agenda for them, a means to an end for them. And when they see an opportunity to gain perhaps they gain some attention from another that was the agenda, then they turn very quickly. And I've had these people actually telling me that they were going to publicly expose everything that I had spoken to them in private about. So I'm very cautious now, as you can imagine, but that is what psychopaths can do. So you have to be very, very careful, because they will appear to be your friend, and they have no problems lying. They can lie through their teeth, and they can be very, very good at it. So just be on guard about that. Right. So he asked you what your disciples are like, and so the whole big tangent that I just went on was all about explaining who the divine were. And so the divine are the disciples, are the apostles. That's why we see them with a glowing head, because they're illuminated, and they will literally illuminate when the light returns, when the Christ light returns. We will know who the divine are among humanity, because they will appear different. They will look different. And so we know that Mary is saying to Jesus, and this is Mary Magdalene, by the way. Mary is saying to Jesus, what are your disciples like? So what are your kind like? What are the other souls, the other divine souls like? And Jesus responds, they are like little children living in a field that is not theirs. And that is what is happening with the divine souls right now. They are living in a time and in a place that they are strangers. Okay? They will probably not fit in very well in these times. They will try very hard to fit in, but they will always feel that they are different to others and are not fitting in very well. Because, I mean, this is just biological and ethereal on that level, that they cannot, fit in with something that is so alien and so corrupted as the world that we see it now. And so they are living in a field that is not theirs anymore. It's been taken over, it's been destroyed, it's been vandalized, it's been defaced. I mean, we should just be ashamed of ourselves. And I've said this before, it's like we're just visitors here. Mortals are just visitors here. And when the divine souls return, they're going to be like, wow, seriously? This is what you guys did while we weren't here, when we asked you to take care of everything while we were gone? Because remember, there's multiple accounts, and I'm even talking about Quetzalcoatl, who is just another symbol for the firstborn divine son. Okay, and he said he will return. Okay, so the scriptures say he will return. Okay, the Gnostic Gospels say he will return. Okay, I don't think that there isn't the Quran, the Torah. I mean, I don't think that even the Hindu text, because Kalki is representing the divine firstborn son. They all say that the divine return. Okay, so it's going to happen. It's part of divine operation. All truths will be known. All truths will be revealed. Okay, and we are going to be ashamed of what we have allowed to happen to the garden, to the field that was theirs, that we were supposed to be looking after, and we failed miserably. So we have failed them, we have failed ourselves, and we have failed our children. So shame job, guys, shame job. So when the owners of the field come, they will say, give us back our field. So talking about the divine souls. And they will take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back to them. So when it says anything in the scriptures that talk about garments, clothes, okay, there's a part of the scriptures where Jesus, the transfiguration of Jesus, and his clothes are the brightest white than anyone has ever seen. They're bleached, the brightest white than anyone has ever seen. They're talking about the physical garment, okay, your body, because that's what your body is. Your body is just a garment for your soul, and you change your garment all the time. You change your garment every time you reincarnate. You have a different garment. And when we get to the last degree of the great year and the Christ light returns, the light returns, the ether has, once again, the tide of ether has returned to the physical plane, and that is a medium that carries the Christ light, okay, the light, the Holy Spirit. Then the divine amongst mankind will illuminate, and they will change. They will literally glow, and they will be known. And I do also believe that those who hold the divine portion within them to a high degree, mortals, may show different signs, and they are known as the elect, okay? Those who have either followed the path, the Christ path, followed Christ's teachings, not transgressed divine law, they will also show a difference, because it's all about your divine portion within and your connection to that will be your connection to your Christ-like. Because just imagine that when you are transgressing divine law, you are thickening the shell around your heart. Okay, and so that is where your divinity emanates from, as well as your heart and your mind. And so we often see that Jesus is holding the flaming heart, but then Jesus is also shown, and the divine, the apostles and the disciples are always shown, and the elders, the 24 elders, that's another symbol for the divine souls. They're always showing a halo around their head too. So that is the connection between the heart and the mind, and then they will actually show a definite change. Now, perhaps they're mortals who have not transgressed divine law and who have shown themselves worthy to partake in the divine experience, will show that kind of difference within themselves around the heart area. I'm just speculating here. I do believe in some way that they will show some difference to other humans, and it does say that in the Bible, but the way that they show it isn't exactly explained. So they do say there's a mark on the forehead. That could just be symbolic too. All right. So there will be a way. There will be a way to see the differences between the divine, the elect, and those who have transgressed, because it also says that those who have transgressed, they're underneath their garment, they are monsters, and they will look like monsters. Okay, so these beautiful people now that are, swirling around in their, beautiful garment, because they've been blessed to have a beautiful face and a beautiful figure, and they, have focused on their external beauty. Underneath that, they are monsters. Okay, and all truths will be known. So they will be revealed for who they are. So unfortunately, in these times, mankind are very caught up in appearances. And so you will see that these people who have these beautiful garments on right now have a very popular standing within humanity. And that is going to change, because they are going to be seen for who they really are, because your soul is going to mirror your transgressions. And if you are vain and full of pride and vanity and focus only on your physical body and worldliness, well, that is not going to reflect very well on your soul. And so they say, give us back our field. They take off their clothes in front of them and give it back to them. They return their field to them. Right, and so that's also saying, when they say they take off their clothes in front of them, that the mortals also will be revealed for who they really are, okay, and have to return back to them what was the divine, because the divine, this is their world, okay, we are just guests, all right, I know people don't want to hear that, but we are just guessing. Yeah, it's not fair, I don't like the way it is. Too bad. All right, that's life. All right. And, I'm so sick of people whinging about how life isn't fair. I mean, I just see these people that whinge about every single little thing. I see it all the time. I see it in my own environment, my own surroundings, people that whinge about being tired. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I had to go shopping today. Oh, it's just... Oh, I had to go pick the kids up from school. I had to go take them to sports. Oh, they just whinge and whine about every little frickin' thing. And it just sickens me, because there are children right now who are dying under our bombs that we made and gave to other terrorist countries. And they literally have no food, no shelter, and no doubt watch their parents die in front of them. But, oh no, Westerners, we've got it so hard, I had to go shopping today, and I'm so tired, and just whinge, 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 whinge. And it's going to really be a wake-up call when the Antichrists play out the next card on Westerners, because they've allowed us become so indulgent on purpose, because they're going to teach us a lesson. So all of these overindulgent Westerners, these fat-ass Westerners who just can scoff their faces with whatever fast food and food they want and drink as much alcohol as they want, and all the drugs just being given out freely to them now. I mean, even marijuana has been made legal everywhere pretty much in the United States, to just encouraging us to be as indulgent as we can, and it is going to backfire on us big time. And a lot of people are going to not be able to mentally handle what's coming. So get prepared for that, guys. Okay, get prepared for that and protect yourselves, because a lot of people are literally going to flip out. Okay, and you see it more and more every day. People just walking around muttering to themselves. Remember when that was like a sign of someone being a freaking crazy? Okay, and now you see people walking around muttering to themselves, and it's pretty much, oh yeah, you just go ahead with your day and just think, yeah, well, he's a bit weird. But once upon a time, 50 years ago, they would have put him in an asylum. Okay, it was not normal to see people wandering around talking to themselves and muttering to themselves, let alone what we're seeing on the streets of California right now. I mean, it's literally in the faces of Americans right now that they are destroying us and destroying you, okay? And when I say us, I say that the destruction of Americans is the destruction of us as well, okay? Because we are all one, okay? And they are just playing this out on Americans, because it's just, that's the opportunity that they have to do that. Because, well, how do they justify what they're doing to people in California? They say, oh, well, it's California, it's Democrats, it's progressives. And then everybody else in America just agrees with that. Oh, yeah, it's just California, it's just they've got, Democrat leaders and that's no. That's just allowing them the justification to do what they're doing. Those people that are being affected by the fentanyl, that are actually, bent over and dying on the sidewalks over in California, they are human souls. This is happening to us. They are attacking us, and they are just being attacked first. So if you think that you can look over there and see what's happening to them and separate yourself from that because, oh, well, I live over here, I live in another state and that's not happening here. Well, you are deluding yourself, because that's just where it's starting, and it's going to be like a virus that spreads out. And even if it doesn't get to that part, they're just literally saying, look what you allowed us to do to you, and you did nothing. You allowed us to treat other people, other human souls in this way, and there was no outrage about it. There was just the odd YouTuber walking around the streets doing some videos about it, expressing outrage about it. But what did the collective do? Absolutely freaking nothing at all, because hey, it's not affecting me, is it? It's not affecting me. I've still got my house, I've still got my car, I've still got my job, I can still, afford to buy my clothes and to buy food and to go and buy anything that I want. So why would I care about what's happening to some guy or some woman on the sidewalk in California? And this is the error of our ways, people. This is the error of our ways. So it's not good. It really isn't. So it says, for this reason I say, if the owners of the house know a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives, and they will not let the thief break into their house, their domain, and steal their possessions. Again, this is talking about us, guys. We have to internalize this to ourselves. It's not talking about your real house, okay? Because that's worldliness. And the Creator doesn't give a shit about that, all right? That doesn't count. That doesn't factor in your house, your car, that part of, your job. That is completely insignificant and meaningless to the grand scheme of everything, okay? That is only important to you, okay, in your incarnation at this time. But that is completely meaningless on any other level of significance. So what it's actually talking about is the thief is coming to break into your house, your soul, your body, to get to your soul, okay? And if you know the thief is coming, what do? Well, you prepare yourself. You guard against it, Okay, you make sure that you stay aligned with divine truth no matter what religion tells you that it's okay, because now we have, these really cool new agey Christian clergy that tell us it's okay to be homosexual, it's okay to be transgender, it's okay to be queer, it's okay to be gyrating in front of children. Okay, it's okay to be doing this to children. All right, they're telling us. I mean, literally the Catholic Church full of rapists, okay? How many times do we have to uncover that a Catholic clergy has raped children? Okay, but it's just a bad apple. No, it's a freaking bad farm of apples. Okay, the whole freaking organization is infiltrated and evil. Okay, and any clergy that is part of that is evil. Okay, because you wouldn't be part of an evil organization, would you? And it's just like Catholics, I'm a Catholic, but I don't agree with the current Pope. No, you do. Because by calling yourself a Catholic, you're giving him power. Okay, the only way to take power away from the antichrists that are using the Catholic religion as a cover is to turn your back on them, is to no longer partake in that religious organization. They gain power because you all still call yourself Catholic and you are still actively part of that religion that empowers them. So all of those people that call themselves Catholics, all of those people who turn up to worship the Pope when he drives his little Pope-mobile around, okay, and acts like he's Jesus, acts like he's God on earth, all right, they're all evil too, and they will all go to destruction with these pieces of shit clergy. These pieces of shit antichrist, these shit stains on humanity. Okay, so they are just walking the wide path together. And I don't have any sympathy for any of them except the children that they're dragging down to hell with them. Because these people know that a few centuries ago, that the Catholic Church were burning people alive and torturing people. Does anybody really think that Jesus Christ would have been standing there and applauding them if he was around still while that was happening? Now, this Pope is supposed to be the surrogate for Jesus until he returns, like he's the placeholder. I'm just standing here in place of Jesus until he returns. So to say that Jesus would be okay with torturing people to death, with hacking to death 1 million Cathars and burning them at the stake, the real Gnostic Christians, okay, who revered Jesus, all right, and didn't worship him like a god, actually just revered him and acknowledged that he was a divine man and a very important representative of the Creator. They were all hacked to death and killed and burned and murdered by the Catholic Church. But people still think that that's okay, that Jesus is going to be fully okay with that when Jesus is returned. Because, how delusional do you have to frickin' be? I mean, I don't know, mate. I just can't get these people. As for you then, be on guard against the world. Prepare yourselves with great strength, so the robbers can't find a way to get to you, for the trouble you expect will come. Well, I've been expecting trouble for a long time. I actually first woke up in 1999 actually, to be accurate, and I got caught up in the whole 2000 millennial bug because I knew something was up. And of course they started pushing all these false flags, and I didn't know what a false flag was back then. So I was, warning all my family and friends, better stock up, millennial bug, the whole thing. Of course I got made to look like a complete fool, and was way too early to wake up back then. And so I went back to sleep a couple of times, tried to anyway, but yeah, kept being, shaken awake again. And finally in 2011, that was it. I could not go back to sleep after then. And so I've been warning people since then that the shit is coming down the line and to prepare. I've got nothing but hate from it. Still get nothing but hate from it, which is just absolutely hilarious, because it's funny how people hate on me, yet nobody can actually debate me. Nobody can actually prove what I'm saying is incorrect. Okay, nobody can actually do a video. Okay, we used to do this a lot in the early days. We'd do a response video. Somebody would put something out and then you'd do a response video and you'd debate them. Look, I'm just waiting for somebody to come and debate what I've been saying and show me in the ancient text where I've got it wrong. Prove yourself. I'm not just saying that you can interpret the text into any freaking way that you want to interpret them to mean. I'm talking go and do what I did. Go and do what I've done on my channel for the last 12 years. okay? And I have shown all of my research and how I put all of the pieces of the puzzle back together. I've shown every step of the way, and not all of it's completely accurate. I've had to go back and, reassess some of my earlier work because I was just joining the dots like everybody else, and then I got parts wrong too, but then you go back as you get more information and you reassess and you put together, the other pieces of the puzzle, and it gives you a better and broader understanding, okay? You're basically putting together a jigsaw puzzle, guys. And at the beginning, you've got one piece here, one piece here, one piece here. You're trying to get the picture. Okay, and sometimes you assume the picture's one thing, but it turns out to be something else because you start getting more pieces of the puzzle and you start filling in the picture more and more and more, and then a whole new picture starts to emerge. Well, that's literally what's happened. Okay, and so I really want somebody to come and say, if I'm wrong, how I'm wrong. Because lots of people will tell me I'm wrong. Lots of people will comment on my videos and tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm crazy, tell me I'm delusional, okay, and discredit me and disparage me, but they can't show me how. And you know what? 99% of these people that come and hate on me and call me names and discredit me have got empty channels. It's interesting. It's interesting how people that have empty channels and none of their own research think that they have the right to go and actually start, criticizing other people who have actually shown 12 years of research. Okay, so that's what I bloody well have been doing, okay? Trying to warn people, because when I done the research and I found all the information and I knew the truth, then I felt I had a responsibility to warn other people, okay? And tell you guys, hey, guys, shit's coming, all right? Prepare. They're evil, all right? The whole world's evil. They've infiltrated every single agency, every single section of society has not escaped them, okay? They have infiltrated everything. Media, education, science, religion, financial system, agriculture, food, everything, okay? Every single thing. And it's true when you go and look into those sections of our society and you go and do the research into them, they've been infiltrated and they've been corrupted. How many times do people have to do, research papers on research papers? You can just go and have a look at the problem with peer review papers, peer review science, the problem with false research papers, how most research papers are false, are fake. Okay, we know that. We can go and research that, but everyone still accepts science as though it's the holy gospel, and you don't have to actually question it at all. So anyway, that's all I'm saying is that the thief is coming. Guard against the thief. When you know the thief is coming, you need to lock up your house and make sure they don't get in. And you know what else you need to do? You need to bring your children into the house too, and you need to lock the house up. And you can't do that by putting your children in the education institutes that are being controlled by the evil, that are being controlled by them. You can't delude yourself into thinking that you can be awake and you can protect your children by sending your children out into the belly of the beast every day for 6 hours. In fact, most of those teachers out there spend more time with your children influencing their minds than you do. And then you somehow think that you're going to have a greater influence on them. Okay, schools were created to brainwash and propagandize your children. Okay, so if they wanted to help us and schooling was a part of helping us, why wouldn't they make schooling the exactly same time as they do with our working day? But no, they don't. They make it so freaking difficult for us to actually work and put our children through school, and then we have to pay for after school care. Okay, money, going and putting them in with strangers as well that we don't know. How many times have you seen that's turned out bad because the strangers that people have left their children with have not been good people? Okay, so again, I can just go on forever about this parable. So let there be among you a person who understands. That pretty much is self-explanatory. There are a few people that have gone and done the research and have brought together and connected all the dots. I don't know why I was so motivated to go and do this, but I was. My channel shows the amount of motivation and commitment that I have had to getting, all of the pieces of the puzzle back together. There were other researchers who initially started out with that same motivation. Unfortunately, not a lot of them continued on this path. And that is because it is very hard to exist in the matrix, to exist in the world, and also not be of the world. Okay, it is very, very difficult. And I don't blame these people because, as I said, when I first woke up back in 1999, there were many times that I went back to sleep again, back into the matrix, and tried to be one of them, normies in the matrix. It never worked very well, made me miserable most of the times, but I tried my hardest to be accepted by them. And now I just realise that I never will be accepted because I'm just not the same as a normie. I am someone who actually wants to have an understanding of myself and the universe, and they don't. And so we will never align. When the crop ripened, he came quickly, carrying a sickle, and harvested it. Anyone with 2 good ears had better listen. So again, if you've got 2 good ears, if you understand this parable, then you better listen. And this is also what it says in Mark 4:11-12. And Jesus says, they will be ever seeing, but never perceiving, ever hearing, but never understanding, for they may turn and be forgiven. Because that is the case of why there's only a select amount of people that will move through into the golden age, because we're being tested. And that is why everything is encoded and everything is occulted, is because you're tested for your worth. And only those who are going to go out and do the research and do the study are worthy of moving through into the golden age. And the divine souls who wrote these scriptures knew that. Okay, and that's why they did that. They didn't just give it out. They didn't just put it literally out there. I mean, I'm just now, like, if I was doing this 500, 600 years ago, I would be burned at the stake. Okay, I literally would have been burned at the stake. I probably have been burned at the stake in previous incarnations. I can't imagine that I've only had one incarnation where I'm very focused on trying to find the truth, okay? So I probably was, who knows? But what I'm saying is that there is a time for silence and a time for speech. There is a season of silence and a season for speaking. We're in the season for speaking now. That is why I'm revealing all of this knowledge, and it's no longer occulted. Okay, that I'm just literally giving it to you. Most people won't recognize truth when it's given to them. Okay, because they've been lied to for so long, and they expect that the truth isn't going to come from just some random on YouTube who has a very small channel of nearly 20,000 subscribers, okay? They think the truth's going to come from somebody who's very impressive, okay, that wears a white coat or went to university or is popular, and has 1 million subscribers, okay? That's what they're conditioned to believe. So if you're conditioned to believe that, well, more fool you, because that's not how it works, okay? And I would go and ask you that if any of these other people that are doing this type of channel, where they're looking at this esoteric knowledge, show me how many of them have gone cross culture with the theology and the mythology and the symbolism. Show me them, because I can't see them. I cannot see these channels who have gone cross culture. They all focus on one area, and that's where they stay. They don't go look at Hermetics. They don't go look at the Kabbalah. They don't go look at symbolism. They don't go look at the Gnostic Gospels or the Quran or the Bible or the Hindu texts, or the Norse mythology. They don't bring it all together. Even though we know that all knowledge comes from one source, they don't bring it all together. So that's why they just stay half blind, okay, because they don't get the full picture. You're not going to get the full picture unless you bring it all together. So, I really wish there were others out there studying and researching this knowledge to this level, because it is a lonely path when you are literally the only channel that I know of that is doing this knowledge in this way. As I said, there were other researchers in the beginning when we first all started looking into this back in 2011 and 2012, but I am the only one that is still walking this same path and have not moved from this path, regardless of the attacks, regardless of the psychopaths, regardless of the stalkers, regardless of the haters. Don't give a shit. Got kicked off bloody Facebook. Wasn't on Facebook for 6 years, 7 years, because I think it was when they brought out when they legalized homosexual marriage, and I was speaking out about it. And by the way, I wasn't even being abusive when I was just literally putting out knowledge about the Greek marriages and the symbolism of marriage and where it came from and why it's man and woman. And I got banned from Facebook. Literally could never even make another account without it lasting more than a week. They knew me. They have me on their radar. So as soon as I start talking about this knowledge, I'm gone. I'm gone straight away. So I'm just waiting for them to do that on YouTube. It's only a matter of time. I'm going to trip up one day. So anyway, 22. Jesus saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, "These nursing babies are like those who enter the Father's kingdom." They said to him, "Then shall we enter the Father's kingdom as babies?" Jesus said to them, "When you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and when you make the male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male nor the female female, when you make eyes in the place of an eye, and a hand in the place of a hand, and a foot in a place of a foot, an image in a place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom." So he's talking about the end of the great year when we re-merge with the Creator, because we all do that at one time in the cycle. Our souls will all re-merge with the Creator to be rebirthed back onto the physical plane. The divine souls will come together once again in union, true marriage. And so will the mortals to a different degree. So that is literally what that is talking about. It's also talking about it to another level when it first starts, and it says, "When you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower." It's also talking that when we do move into that part of the cycle of the divine operation, just before we merge with Creator, our physical garments will dissolve, and we will be literally ethereal beings. So that will happen too. Okay, and that is when we will all merge back in with the Creator, and then we will be rebirthed back onto the physical plane. That's what being reborn is. You know how the Christians grab all these actual divine operations and then they twist them into their own little physical ceremonies, and that's what being reborn is. Okay. The only one that can, rebirth us is God the Creator. So that's what that means. Jesus said, "I shall choose you, one from 1,000, two from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one." So he's talking about the Christed, okay, and that the Christed are selected among humanity. And "I shall choose you, one from 1,000 and two from 10,000. So he's just basically, as I've said before, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times the numbers do not really represent anything other than just showing that there is a select amount of souls that will move through, or that something will happen to, or that this is pertaining to. It's being selective. It is showing, it is symbolizing that there is a select amount of souls, and he is choosing you, one from 1,000, two from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one. So a single one meaning a single tribe. And this is what the tribes of Israel also mean, a race, a single race as well. Jesus's race, Jesus's line, Jesus's bloodline. There's many different ways to describe it. I just say the divine souls, the 288 divine souls. I was also saying the divine race, but in these times it's like almost it's almost a hate word to say race, So I don't get, people criticizing me and hating on me and, thinking that I'm being a bigot or being intolerant or whatever else it is. I just try and be, as ambiguous as I can when it comes to trying to separate the divine from humanity, but not doing it in a way where it looks like I'm being intolerant, okay, or racist, whatever. Because race actually is a thing, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's nothing to be, embarrassed about when we talk about race, okay? So there are different races. There's 4 different races, okay? There's the white, the black, the red, and the yellow. And we all should be proud of the characteristics within our own race, because each of our own races do have certain characteristics that other races don't. Because remember how I said you can see God as the giant on the physical plane. If you want to see God in a physical way, okay, let's personify God as a human, all right? Let's put him on the physical plane, but he's a giant, like he's huge, okay, because he's God, right? I'm talking about God the Father. And so the left arm is the red ray, well, actually, if you want to do it, okay, let's apply it properly. Okay, so the head is the white race. The west of God, all right, is the black race. The east of God is the yellow race, and the south of God is the Reuben, is the red race. Okay, so different parts. Now, sometimes the symbolism kind of changes up the yellow and the black race, the positions of them, okay? But the white race and the red race is always north and south, okay? So it doesn't really matter, okay? It really doesn't matter. Yes, it would be good if we could have a solid understanding of where the positions are properly. I tend to see it as red, as white, south is red, east is yellow, and west is black, because that is the same way that the Hopis show the colours of the four races as well. And it just makes sense that the Orientals, the yellow race is in the east and the black race is in the west, okay? And when you see the great statue of the tribe of Judah, and I've got it on the pictures that I'm showing you in the stream, that is in the west, okay? So literally also giving us this information, somebody who, actually, it was North Korea who actually built that statue. And you have to wonder why. It was Kim Jong-un's father who built that statue, commissioned and paid for that statue. And he's dead now. And apparently we have a person that calls himself Kim Jong-un as his son. I tend to think that it's probably not even him, it's just an actor, and we wouldn't even know anyway. But anyway, I don't want to go down that tangent. But that is how we can see the Creator if we put him in the physical form. So we all make up the Creator, okay? Each of us make up part of the Creator, a fragment of the Creator, and so we are all one race, but we are also separate. So the arm is not the leg, the head is not the foot, okay? The hand is not the shoulder, all right? Is it intolerant or racist to say that a hand is not a foot? Is it racist to say that the leg is not the arm? Because that's literally what we've been brainwashed into believing now. All right, so yes, we are different races. They're trying to make us one big blob. They love all the interracial shit. That's why they're showing it on Netflix. Interracial shit, they love all that because they're trying to make us this big, ambiguous blob of nothing and to destroy the Creator. Once again, it's all about the destruction of the Creator and the divine and everything that is divine. So, yes, don't, get caught up in this whole, I can't say that, I'm this race or that race or whatever. Yes, you can, and each race has their own attributes and skills that are different from other races. And it's completely okay because we all make the whole, we all make the collective. His disciples said, "Show us the place where you are, for we must seek it." He said to them, "Anyone here with 2 ears better listen. There is light within a person of light, and it shines on the whole world. If it does not shine, it is dark." So he's basically just saying that the divine carry the light within them. We can see this in Plato when he talks about the Atlanteans, and as we move down the cycle from the Golden Age when the divine are illuminated, and we all know who the divine are and who the gods are because they are literally illuminated. Okay, the light within them is shining and they have possession of all of their skills and attributes, okay, and their powers. As we move down the great year, so we move to the Silver Gate, which is where we have a big cataclysm, everything's shaken up, redispersed, we start moving down the second half of the great year, And that is the great year is 26,000 years. So the next, and it's not exactly 26,000 years, but I'll just average it up to that. So we go down the second half of the great year, and then as we're moving into the Bronze Age, the light within the divine souls begins to fade. And then as we are in the Iron Age, they completely lose all of their illumination, and the gods are no longer known. Who the gods are between mortal man and divine man, they all look completely the same. The gods don't even know themselves. But when we return back into the Golden Age, as we're moving now back into that time, the ether is moving back in, which is the principle of rhythm, the Hermetic principle of rhythm. The ether moves back in like the tide. It brings in with it the Christ light, Christ consciousness. That's why we're now actually enlightening again consciously. Okay, we're getting smarter. Okay, we're getting more intelligent, but we're actually going down the wrong path. We're using that for technology. We're using that to stay in a material realm, and that is because the evil have basically corralled us down that path because they want to build up their own version of their kingdom, and they're doing that by creating technology and making technology our God. Okay, that's how they will be our God. They're already doing it as in the all-seeing eye. So if we think of God as the all-seeing eye, okay, but then look at them as the all-seeing eye. They've now used technology. They've hooked us up with our cell phones and satellites. Everyone loves Elon Musk, who is just a front man for technology and allowing them to roll out this technology on us. He's now putting in place a complete network of satellites around our planet, and that is going to be used like a net. We are going to be trapped within that net. He's already contracting them to the US military. People seem to think he's doing it for our benefit. No. When everything crashes and he is bankrupted, because he will become bankrupted, that's part of the script, they will actually nationalize those satellites and then use them against us. Okay, right now it's all about, oh, he's just helping everyone in regional areas and rural areas. Isn't he awesome? No, he's not. He's just putting it all in place because if they were to do it, well, then we would start actually questioning that, okay? But when he's doing it, well, he's just being, helpful. He's benefiting mankind. This is the same guy that wants to put chips in our brains, by the way. The same guy that wants to bring in universal basic income. Okay, the same guy that openly bragged about voting in Obama and the Clintons. Okay, it's funny how conservatives forget that. They all have a love affair with Elon Musk now. Because remember, it used to be the Democrats, and now they've switched up the script and they've made it so that he's the bestie of the conservatives, and he's all, besties with Trump and the whole thing. All right. So they're just playing us, all right? I'm not going to get into arguing about politics because both sides are exactly the same. They're just playing out a script. They're just actors. I'm just trying to say that they are mimicking divine operation in their own way. And so we are now consciously enlightening, but we're allowing them to dumb us down because they've basically corralled us into technology, and now we're just walking around with phones in our faces 24/7, and we're just ingesting or digesting all of this absolute trash about celebrity and reality TV and sports and everything. I mean, that's what most people watch on their phones. They're not actually going and researching into this knowledge, are they? They're not using their phones to go and research into all of these ancient texts and all of this esoteric knowledge so that they have an understanding for themselves and an understanding for divine operation. No. They're using it just to dumb themselves down, and that's what they've done that on purpose. Okay, they've dumbed us down on purpose, and we can even see that the children's school results are actually getting worse all the time as well. Okay, so yeah, we have not yet basically moved into that time where the divine amongst us are illuminated, but that will happen after the crack, because if you have a look at the major arcana, the tarot, the symbolism on the tarot, you see that the tower happens, okay, 16, and then 17 you see the star, and that is what happens. So the ether pours in, there's a huge shift, okay, and then the divine are illuminated. And so we will know who the gods are. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been brainwashed into believing aliens are coming back. So some people will see the divine as aliens. Some people, the modern Christians, have all been fooled into believing that there's going to be a false Christ that exhibits, supernatural powers, just like Christ. No, again, that's the Catholic Church bastardizing the texts. The only one that will be displaying these types of gifts and skills will be the divine. And because the firstborn divine son, Jesus, symbolism, okay, when I say Jesus, it's not his name, it's just a symbol for him. The reason that he will exhibit these skills and abilities and attributes in the most powerful manifestation is because he is the first degree. He is the highest degree within the divine race, and so he channels that divine power through him in the highest degree, in the most powerful way. And that is why the scriptures are always about the firstborn divine son. One, it helps to keep the knowledge intact as much as we can, because as we move forward, as we move down into the Iron Age, we know that it fragments. We know they try to destroy it. So if we can continue to repeat a pattern over and over again, which is what's happened. So Apollo and, Horus and Kalki and Shiva and Thor and all of these symbols for Quetzalcoatl, for the firstborn divine son, are repeated in all of the different mythologies and scriptures over and over again to keep the knowledge intact as much as they can. And then the parables just change, but really when you look beneath the parables, the stories are the same. The knowledge is the same. It's expressed differently. And it's also expressed differently because remember how I said that we're all different, each race is different, so we perceive things differently. We express things differently. Okay, and so of course the lens that we express divine revelation through is going to be different according to race as well. It's going to be expressed differently according to race. So one, it's expressed differently because each of the races expresses it differently, because we do have those differences. But two, it helps to occult the knowledge as well, which is what they wanted. Yeah, and it says, and if it does not shine, it's dark. And that's what it is now. The world is dark because we don't have any guidance, because the gods are here to guide us. When the gods are illuminated, we know with absolute certainty that there is a creator, and that the gods, that the divine souls are the children of the creator. And so we listen to them because they are our guides, they are our teachers, and they really do want the best for us, because they want the best for the kingdom of God. They are responsible for the kingdom of God. And so we listen to them, and until they return, we are in darkness. We are in the Tower of Babel. And I have decided, guys, that I'm going to go and start doing live streams about all of these different parables, like the wheat and the tares, the Tower of Babel, all of these different parables, and even the different Greek mythologies as well. The ones that haven't been too bastardized, I will try and decode, and we will try and interpret them as well. And then it says, love your friends like your own soul, protect them like the pupil of your eye. So it's just basically saying that those who are your true friends are part of your soul group, your soul tribe. Remember how I said we interact with people in our inner circle and our family that are part of our soul tribe, that we move through each of our incarnations with these people, with these souls. It's just how destiny and fate works, okay? And we all have different experiences in different incarnations with these same souls. We play different parts in every incarnation. We are in different, levels of society as we move down through our incarnations. As we come down into the Iron Age, we could be one incarnation, we could be someone who doesn't have a lot of material wealth, and then in the next one we might have status, we might have material wealth, and we interact with people within our soul tribe as well. And so that is why if there are people that you have resonated with on that level, that they understand you on that level, that they are a true friend. And there is a saying in the Colburn Bible that, you know, true friends, you can count them on one hand, okay? Like, you never are going to find a lot of true friends. Those people that have lots of friends, you know, oh, I've got so many friends, you know, they're not really friends, okay? And they hold the bar for friendship very low, okay? When you hold the bar for friendship higher, which you should, when you allow people to come into your inner circle, something that I learned in the early days, which I, you know, learned the hard way. When you think anyone who just acts like a friend is a friend without actually proving themselves, then you get caught out and you realize that very few people are true friends. Okay, so, and when you find true friends, you do treat them like your own soul. You protect them. They are your friends. And, you know, you may have fallouts with them. And I have had fallouts with true friends. Okay. But you acknowledge that, and you know, nobody's perfect. Sometimes we put the bar too high on people. We expect people to be like us and to react to things like we do, and to operate in the same way we do. And when they don't, we assume that they're not worthy of our friendship. And so that can be a mistake, because everyone has their own way of experiencing this incarnation. And some people, you know, they take a little bit longer to understand their place in, you know, this experience. But those who still walk with you 10 years later, even though you've had your fallouts, they are true friends. And yeah, I've discovered recently that there is somebody that fits that description, and we are about to reconnect after 10 years. She has walked this path with me. We have fallen out, but she is still here. And to me, that says a lot. That does say a lot. So there are true friends, and you protect them like your own soul. Right, you see the sliver in your friend's eye, but you don't see the timber in your own eye. So again, that's just talking about how, you know, you're quick to find fault in others, but you ignore your own faults. And I'm not perfect, you know. I've been selfish. I can be a selfish person sometimes. I know that that's one of my faults. I can be selfish. I can. You know, I have not been the perfect friend. You know, I have been quick to anger and lashed out and done hurtful things to other people. So I have to take responsibility for my own actions, and take the timber out of my eye. And so we all have to do that. We take the timber out of our own eye if we're trying to judge others, okay? But, you know, in saying that, that doesn't mean that when there are people that have proven themselves to be unworthy of your friendship and then continue to prove themselves to be unworthy of your friendship, that you don't allow them back into your inner circle, okay? Because there's a way to test people of whether they are worthy for your friendship. And as I said, I know how to test these people now. I know by their own actions how to test these people and whether they really are sorry for what they did and how they betrayed me years ago. And when those people emerge, you know, and suddenly return onto the scene like 3 weeks ago, and then want to actually make out that it's all just back to usual as it was, then no, because somebody that would be true in that wouldn't pretend to be somebody else for 3 weeks and only just reveal themselves after the last stream, and then do it in such a cryptic way that it actually came across pretty creepy. Actually even bringing up my children, and that they knew my children before even telling me and revealing who they were, and then just continue to basically behave as though they were still, you know, word for word back in 2012. So when somebody changes and makes real changes, you can see that in their actions. And this person, while they were very young 10 years ago, they weren't very young 5 years ago. They weren't very young 4 years ago. And so plenty of time for actions to speak louder than words, plenty of time to, resurface and build bridges, and yet that was not the case. And then when the person did actually return into my experience, actually didn't reveal who they were for 3 weeks and played little games before they finally revealed who they were. So you know who I'm talking to. I have removed this person from my experience. They will not be on my stream. As I have said to this person, that they are quite welcome to continue, viewing the knowledge, researching the knowledge. I'm not stopping that. The person has been made a viewer of the group, so they can still access the knowledge. They still just can't interact. So there is no way they are being stopped from this knowledge reaching them, okay? And it should be, if they are really about truth, which is what they proclaimed, then it should be about the truth and not about me and not about any of the other researchers as well, which I actually do believe is the actual motivation for reconnecting with me in the first, and was probably only the ever reason that they were friends with me to begin with. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the Father's kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. So, if you do not fast from the world, that means if you do not withdraw yourself from the world, and if you are of the world instead of in the world. And we've spoken about this before. You don't want to be of the world. Okay, so yes, you have to go to work. Yes, you have to pay your bills. Yes, you have to, interact with others in the matrix on that level. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you have to become the world. You don't view your career as the, embodiment of who you are. I mean, how many times do you meet somebody out, and you're talking to somebody, and the first thing you say to them is like, oh, what do you do? Okay? So we've all become our jobs. We've all become, and I call it slavery, okay, because I really don't want to be doing what I do to bring in money. I don't enjoy it. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. There are people that have worse forms of slavery than I do. I, for the most part, don't hate it. I've literally been working in the same, with the same business for 5 years. So I find that a feat in itself, because I was always one of those people that after a couple of years, I got sick of, doing the same thing, and I needed like fresh ground, and I had to move on. Whether that's just because I'm getting older and wiser, whether it's just because I am familiar now and comfortable in my position of slavery, I don't know. But I would rather be home doing my craft, okay? Because I'm right into dressmaking right now. That is my thing. I love it. I wish I could just do it all the time. That and this knowledge are my two favorite things in this whole entire world, and I wish I could just do them every day, but I can't. I have to go and make money. I have to pay my rent. I have to buy food. I have to, put fuel in my car, pay my bills, blah, 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 blah. But I do not interact with the world as though I'm of the world. I sometimes, my position at my job, I have to go to work dues, unfortunately. And so I don't make them a huge part of, who I am. There are other people within the same business that are in my position as well, my level, and they make it all about that's who they are. That's their whole reason for being, I literally go there, do what I have to do to the best of my ability, as accurately and skillful as I can. I take pride in what I do. properly, and then I come home, I cut off, and I leave it there. And that's what we all should do. Don't become your job. Okay, it is just a means to an end. That's all you should see it as. And so people that go to college, I often laugh, that Christians aren't about worldliness, are they? And yet what do? They send their children to university and college. Why? So their children will get a good career. Why? So their children can earn good money. Why? So their children can buy a big house and a good car. Oh, would that be worldliness? Yeah. Look, it's not easy following in the footsteps of Christ, is it? Otherwise, everyone would just be, everyone would do it and nobody would, find it difficult. But what modern Christians have done in these times is instead of actually emulating Christ in his actions and his behaviors, they think that all they have to do is praise him and worship him. But that's what he didn't want, because he literally says that. And he also doesn't ever say he wants praise and worship. You won't find any verses where Jesus will ask for praise or worship, and you won't find any verses where Jesus will call himself God. And that's literally what modern Christians are doing. They're calling him God, and they're praising and worshiping him, and thinking that that's what he's going to care about when he's returned to his rightful position. But God! But, they're going to call him God too, and he's going to correct them straight away and say, you dumbasses. You were told multiple times in the scriptures that I'm a man. I'm the mediator between God and man. And no, you didn't want to listen to that. I never said I was God. I not once said that I was God. I never asked for your praise and worship. And look at you all here, you pathetic, pitiful little spineless idiots. That's really what they are. And it's disgusting, because, there are millions and millions, billions of Christians. And could you imagine if they all actually turned and started, looking into this knowledge, how they were told, whether we would have so much evil in the world right now? Because we wouldn't. But they are actually giving evil power. They are empowering evil. They are empowering evil, all of them. Yeah, and then it says, if you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. So, this is another, point of contention between Christians, modern Christians, where they fight about whether the Sabbath is the Sunday or the Saturday. The fact of the matter is we don't even know if Saturday and Sunday are still on the same days as they were 4,000 years ago. Okay, like Sunday now could be Wednesday. All right, we don't know. At one stage there were... I think 8 days in Greece, ancient Greece. There were only 10 months of the year. There were, the calendar's been changed numerous times that we know of. There's 200 years where we literally don't have, 200 to 300 years where we literally don't have any knowledge at all, the Dark Ages, right? Like all knowledge is gone. There's just a few skerricks. Other than that, we really don't know anything. We've just assumed what's happened. We don't know what the Catholic Church was doing throughout that time, how many changes they were making, what they were doing to people, how they were changing up all of the written history of mankind. So it doesn't matter. That's why the scriptures don't actually give a day. They don't say Saturday is the Sabbath. If Sunday is the Sabbath. Well, if it was that important to God the Father, the creator of the entire universe, which is infinite, by the way, and so large and massive and above our understanding as a human, so he would care whether you would worship him on a Saturday or a Sunday. That in itself is belittling to the creator. But if it was so concerning to him, our creator, don't you think he actually would have put it down? He would have said, I want to be worshipped every Sunday, and you must worship me every Sunday, or I will, slay you on the spot. No, he doesn't give a day. No day is given, no exact, and that is because a Sabbath is just really a day, any day, where you give gratitude for your gifts that have been bestowed upon you, and you honor your creator. It's just really a time of contemplation, okay? A time of contemplating your connection to your creator, okay? And how you can best serve your creator, and to put one day aside a week, a certain time where you do that. That's all it is. Jesus said, I took my stand in the midst of the world, and in the flesh I appeared to them, and I found all of them drunk. I did not find any of them thirsty. My soul ached for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their hearts and do not see. They came into the world empty, and they also seek to depart the world empty. But meanwhile they are drunk. When they shake off their wine, they will change their ways. Well, I really don't have to explain that one. That one is pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? I mean, he's literally just saying that when he is returned, when he illuminates, when whoever the firstborn divine son is illuminated, on whoever he is going to look around and just shake his head at the shameful display of ignorance in front of him, because these people have never sought out knowledge at all. They just seek out the appearance of knowledge. They just seek out a savior. You know, it really sickens me, I have to say this. When I see someone really, you know, who seems like, say it's on a YouTube video or a YouTube short, whatever, and there's a guy who gives a speech, you know, and he's hitting all the dot points, you know, that our government are corrupt, you know. There was a guy yesterday and he was literally calling out black people, telling them, you know, the truths that they should all be listening to. I mean, he was on point, you know. He was literally saying that, you know, we are destroying ourselves. You know, 5 things that black people should acknowledge that are destroying us. You know, and one was like rap music, you know, it's just destroying us because it's just glorifying all of our worst traits, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he went down all of these dot points, you know, of like, you know, why the black race was, black people were literally destroying themselves. Anyway, in the comments section, you know, there were all these people that were like, oh, you know, fantastic, you're great. And, you know, a couple of them were like, oh, if you put yourself up for president, I would vote for you. So that's all it took. A 1-minute video on YouTube Shorts for this person to pledge his allegiance to vote for this person. See what I mean? People always looking for a savior. I see it all the time. Oh, if Russell Brand was going for, you know, if this person, if, you know, if Joe Rogan put his hand up for president, you know, they're always looking for a savior, these people. They can't save themselves by just going out and doing the, you know, honest work of researching and studying knowledge. Anybody can do it. I did it. I'm no genius, I can assure you. I got average grades in school. Really the only subjects that I did well in and that I scored high in were creative writing, English, even though my grammar's shocking, and my spelling, well, it's improved, but when I first started on YouTube, it was terrible. But creative writing, you know, art, you know, actually history I didn't do too bad in. Anything that interested me, I did well in. I sucked at maths. I seriously sucked at maths, you know, even though right like now I can understand numerology and sacred geometry and, you know, the Fibonacci, everything in its basic form I'm okay with. But, you know, starts getting a little bit more involved and I suck at it big time. So you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to know advanced mathematics. You just need to go and have a commitment to searching out truth. That's it. That's it. That's all you need. If you can read, if you know basic maths, you don't even have to be really good at reading. You don't even have to be really good at grammar and writing and spelling, but you can have an understanding for this knowledge. Okay, that's all it takes. It's just commitment. Commitment and a real motivation for seeking out truth with a pure intent. That's all it takes. And so, you know, the majority of people out there have the intelligence, the access to this knowledge, but they have just decided to be empty. They have just decided to want to find a savior. That's why Jesus is so popular and is their pop star. He's their bestie because they don't have to do SFA. They just have to sit on their fat asses and do nothing, turn up to church every Sunday, read a few parables for the Bible, listen to the preacher, sing a few songs. That's it. You know, they're in the good books. That's all they have to do to be saved. I mean, these people are so undeserving. They really are. They are so undeserving. more undeserving than a lot of people. I mean, they're not atheists at least, but they really are just so empty. Okay. Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of the spirit, that is a marvel. But if the spirit came into being because of the body, that is the marvel of marvels. If the flesh came into being because of the spirit, okay, so your soul was created first, okay, but on the physical plane, your body was created before the soul is inserted into the body. So people get confused by that, but it works with you are created as a soul, and then you are encased in a physical shell, but your physical shell is created before your soul is placed into that soul in birth, okay, in conception. Okay, so physically, the physical shell, the material body is created, and then the soul is inserted into the physical body. But the soul is actually who you are, first and foremost. That is a marvel. But if the spirit came into being because of the body, then that is the marvel of marvels. And if the spirit came into being because of the body, then that is the marvel of marvels. And that is talking about the divine souls, okay? Because the body was created to house the divine souls. Because so the physical bodies, that is the way that the Creator experiences himself, through us, okay? And especially through the divine souls too, because they are him on the physical plane. They are him encased in a physical shell. That is how the Creator experiences himself. So people often say, oh, what's life about? You know? Like, why am I here? What is life even for? What is the meaning of life? Like, dumbasses, the meaning of life is that you are here so that the Creator can experience life through you. And that is why it is very important that we honor our physical body. We don't deface our physical body with tattooing it everywhere. I'm not saying that the odd embellishment is, you know, a problem. I mean, I've got a couple of tattoos, and I'm sure most people have. But when you start going to stupid degrees of tattooing yourself on your face and your neck and your arms and your legs and the whole thing, like some idiots are doing these times, because everyone's trying to be special, right? Everyone's trying to stand out. That's what it's about, okay? When you see people that are tattooing their faces and tattooing themselves, especially women, they're trying to stand apart from the crowd, and they can't do that internally just by being a good person. So they have to try and do it by being a spectacle, by making a spectacle of themselves, okay? Piercing their nose 100 times, piercing their ears 100 times, you know, blue hair, green hair, whatever, you know, making a spectacle of themselves. Everyone's trying to be special. Everyone wants to be a star in their, you know, and as I said somebody said to me the other day, and I had to actually, I was quite surprised when normies come out with these things, and it surprises me, because sometimes I drop these little things, you know, and I don't think they're going to pick up on them. And this guy said to me the other day when I said something, and he said, oh, didn't you know everyone's special these days? And I was like, yeah, everyone thinks they're special these days. And I said, everyone thinks they're a star in their own universe. Okay. So everyone's been given a platform to get their, you know, opinion out there, to put their face out there on social media, to put their face out there in the public domain, you know, more than we've ever had. I mean, we weren't able to do this in the 80s, you know, before the internet, before social media, we couldn't do this. Now they can, all right? So everyone has to stand out from, you know, the crowd. And so everyone goes out of their way to be special. And they either do that by exploiting their children, okay, you see that all the time on social media now, or they just, you know, do something to their own physical appearance that makes them look very, very different so that everyone can look at them and they get attention. They're nothing but attention seekers. And it's really sad because that's what most children want to be these days. You know, when you ask a child, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And, you know, and they used to say, well, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a fireman, or, you know, I want to do this. And now it's, I want to be a celebrity. I want to be an influencer. Like, an influencer is even a thing. You know, I want to be a basketballer. I want to be a rapper. You know, it's so sad what we've done to the children. It really is. Right. Yet I marvel at how great wealth has come to dwell in this poverty. Yet I marvel at how this great wealth has come to dwell in this poverty. So that's literally your divine portion is dwelling in your body, but you are not acknowledging your divinity and your greatness. You are just seeing yourself as your physical body, and so you are in poverty. Okay, you are in lack. When you don't acknowledge that you have a spiritual side, you are in lack. Okay, when you don't acknowledge you have a soul, you are in lack, and you are literally in death, because that is another way to view the physical body, as being in death. Okay, a lot of the times you will see that it is written as being in death. Okay, or even the physical plane as being in death or hell. Okay, because we are, you know, we the moment, I've said it before, the moment we're born, we're dying. You know, we're on our way to death. You know, really, that's it. That's the cycle of life. We've now been conditioned and brainwashed into fearing death. And so everything's about our safety. Safety first. You know, you can't do that. You can't climb that mountain because, oh, that's unsafe. Oh, you can't play on that swing unless there's all this stuff, rubber matting and, you know, all of these, you know, kind of different mechanisms to keep the child safe. They can't climb the tree anymore because they've got to be safe. You know, like everyone's so fearful of, you know, death now, that death is seen as an evil. And it's not. It's just a part of life, you know. And so, you know, there was a adventurer not long ago who had climbed Mount Everest so many times, and he died a couple of weeks ago. Well, good for him. He died doing what he wanted. He was an adventurer. He died being adventurous. How better way is there to go than what? Would you rather that he just died lying in his bed, like being spoon-fed, and he's, you know, wearing diapers and having to be toileted? Is that how we go out? Is that it? Because that's how we go out, apparently, according to society these days. You know, there's been 2 occasions brought up in our media over here in Australia within the last and I've gone over this before, guys, about extending our physical bodies beyond our mind's mental faculties. Okay, and so because Big Pharma can extend the physical life of our meat suits, it's supposed to be a good thing, because it's all about staying alive, isn't it? That's a benefit, apparently. Okay, even when our minds have gone, even when we don't even know we're alive or who we are or who our family are, apparently just the whole act of us still being alive, our heart beating within our physical meat suit, is apparently a benefit to us. Okay, so we're so focused on extending the life of the human body, we haven't actually stopped to consider whether we should be extending the life of the human body, you know, just because we can. And so now we've got a whole problem emerging with all of these old people that have, you know, extended their physical bodies past its use-by date. All right, using Big Pharma medication, because they're all on a cocktail of Big Pharma medication. They're all making Big Pharma rich, okay? And we have to house them somewhere. You know, we have to put them somewhere. We have to pay to keep these people alive, you know, somewhere. You know, most of them can't look after themselves anymore. Most of them don't even know who they are. Okay, but we haven't actually considered whether we should be doing this. And so now we've created a problem for ourselves where these people are being abused, okay, by those who are supposed to be looking after them. And of course, because they're suffering from dementia and they're senile and, you know, they don't even know who they are or themselves, they can't even tell people that they are being abused. Okay, they don't even probably know that they are being abused. They might have moments of being lucid, but, you know, who is in the vicinity when that happens? I mean, is somebody visiting them and they just happen to have a lucid moment and say that so-and-so has been, you know, raping me or abusing me or, you know, hurting me, whatever. So we've created this problem just because we fear death, when we should have just allowed these people to expire naturally, okay? And as I was saying about this this problem that's emerging in Australian culture, we do have an issue with not being able to house these elderly people. And isn't it interesting that a lot of these homes, these old people's homes, are run by Christian organisations, particularly the Catholic organisation? I find that very interesting too. So the Catholics are making money off a fear of death as well. Okay, and Christians are making money off a fear of death as well. And so they're closing down. I saw a story a couple of weeks ago where one was closed down and they literally only gave them a month to find somewhere else to put them. And all of these families are up in arms and, oh my God, I don't know what to do with my mother or my grandmother. Well, how about putting them in your own home? Well, there's a thought. You know, they are your family. But anyway, this latest story, this 95-year-old woman was tasered. She's now in hospital slowly dying because she's got a bleed to the brain because, of course, they tasered a 95-year-old woman. She fell down on the floor. And, you know, when you're that age, I mean, you do a hip, you're pretty much on the deathbed. You know, you're gone. You know, you crack your skull. Goodbye, love. You know, you're out of here. So it's just a matter of when. She's slowly dying right now. She's in hospital. But they tasered her. She had a walking frame and she was having a moment and she picked up a steak knife. And so the idiotic people that were looking after her in this old people's home, instead of just dealing with the situation, I mean, for fuck's sake, she's 95, okay? I mean, if you can't get a knife off a 95-year-old, then really, you know, leave your job, idiot. But they called the police. And so what did the police do? Did the police use their intelligence and, you know, use their logical thinking about how they would subdue a 95-year-old woman and take the steak knife off her? No. So as she slowly went towards them, they even wrote this in the article, she was moving towards them with her walking frame slowly, okay, with the knife in one hand and obviously holding onto it with the walking frame as well. They tasered her. Okay, so now she's dying. So this is the situation we have when people are afraid of death. We put our loved ones in these homes to be abused, to be tasered, to be confused, and apparently this is a way that we humanely treat those that we love. So interesting how backwards we've got everything. And this is all from a fear of death. Everything that happens to us right now, the way that they can control us, even with the pandemic that they played out for the last, you know, few years, and how they encouraged everybody to get this experimental vaccine, this was all because of a fear of death. That's the only way they could encourage people to do that. Fear of death, okay? Even their children, even putting this stuff into their children, fear of death. Okay, so it is detrimental to you as a soul incarnated, you know, in a physical body to have a fear of death, because then you have a fear of life, because your soul is life. So if you're fearing death, then you're fearing the rebirth of your soul being released from its prison, your soul returning to life again. So yeah, do not fear death, guys. Jesus said, where there are three deities, they are divine. Where there are two or one, I am with that one. So three deities talking about the Trinity. Okay, so the Trinity, the divine Trinity. I've actually done a live stream about the Trinity. I suggest that if you haven't watched that live stream, go and listen to it, because it's a very involved subject. The Trinity is very layered. One of the layers, the one that this is relating to the divine Trinity of the male, the female, and the demigod. So if we look to the male and the female gods, and then they produce the demigod, and so that is the Trinity. That is the Trinity expressed on the physical plane in its initial, creation. Okay. No prophet is where there are two or one, I am with that one. So okay, so he's saying that the Trinity is divine. So he's actually specifically relating this to the divine. The Christ within them is divine, and that when there is a Trinity, the male, the female, and the demigod, that they are divine souls. But then he says, where there are two or one, I am within that one. He's talking about the Christ within. I've also done a live stream about the Christ within. I've also got the Sacred Sciences of the Soul. That's the latest series that I've done, research series that I've done. It's done very concisely. I have gathered together a lot of different information to show you this, and it explains what the Christ actually relates to. Okay, so I would suggest having a look at that if you haven't already. Jesus said no prophet is welcome on his home turf. Doctors don't cure those who know them. Right, well, doctors back in the day, okay, didn't cure those who know them. Okay, now it doesn't matter, because our doctor isn't the doctor actually prescribing us the medication. Our doctor is just the drug pusher. Okay, he's no longer a healer. All right, he's a drug pusher. So he just basically pushes drugs for big pharma. Okay, so we don't have healers anymore. We have an industry. We have a health industry. So that's what that relates to, and probably why it won't make much sense in these times. But no prophet is welcome on his home turf. Well, a prophet is anybody who understands this knowledge, studies this knowledge, researches this knowledge, and relays this knowledge. Because by relaying this knowledge, you are actually revealing what is in the future for mankind, because that is what all this knowledge tells us. Okay, it's warning us about what's coming and to ready ourselves, ready our souls for what is coming in the future. Okay, so that is what makes anybody that starts revealing this information and this knowledge a prophet in a lesser degree, because you are giving people warnings. Okay, you are telling them what the future holds, because you understand what these texts and all of this information and knowledge is relaying and is revealing. And so when you start to do that, because you are nobody, as I said, remember about it's being the appearance of knowledge. Okay, now because your family and friends don't see you as anybody other than just who you are to them, okay, so you're just their son or daughter or brother or sister, okay, or husband or wife, cousin, whatever, they won't take you seriously. Okay, because they don't see you as someone knowledgeable, because they are brainwashed. They are brainwashed into only taking information from certain people who appear to have knowledge. This is also what the white coat is about as well. They've actually done studies about the white coat effect, and it literally does make people trust in what that person is saying when they wear a white coat. So this is why they've conditioned us over the decades to see scientists and doctors wearing that white coat and then revealing knowledge to us that we should accept, because they are so intelligent, they are so informed, and they always wear a white coat when they are giving us and relaying us this information. And so this has been ingrained into our psyche, so that now when anybody wears a white coat, you'll see it with commercials on TV, you know, adverts and that, whenever they're trying to sell something like a pharmaceutical medication or, you know, some kind of, you know, something that help with health benefits, they will wear a white coat while they're telling you this. And they're an actor. They're an actor wearing a white coat, but that just gives you the assumption, you know, in your mind, because you've been conditioned to think that they have an authoritative understanding that you don't, because they're wearing a white coat and they're special in that way. They're knowledgeable. So that is why you don't go out and try and tell your family and friends about this knowledge, okay? Believe it when I say don't do it, because I've done it. I'm sure many of you have done it too. When you first found this knowledge and you were so excited and you want to help others and you want to tell everybody about this and discuss it, because, you know, it's awesome, and you just want to, you know, you want to be in discussion with other people about this knowledge. You want to help them. You want them to see what you see. You want them to know what you know, and you will just get them looking at you with like glazed eyes. Their eyes roll back into their head, because they're trying to find their brain back there, but they just do not even understand what you are saying at all. Okay, they can't process it. They think you're just speaking absolute rubbish, delusion. Now that they've actually mixed up the conspiracy theories with a lot of these idiots that were caught up in the QAnon rubbish, they did that on purpose. Okay, QAnon is a psyop that they used so that anyone that is not following the mainstream narrative can be grouped in with those weirdos that were all following QAnon, as though that was something real. Okay, so now when you're trying to discuss this knowledge with somebody in your inner circle and they know, oh, QAnon is just a bunch of weirdos, just a bunch of Trump supporters, just a bunch of, they all believe this weird theory and that, they just immediately think you're one of them. Okay, so that's how they're very smart, the people that have taken control of our governments and taken control of our world. They're very, very smart at playing us, okay? So you have to be smarter than them, because otherwise you'll get caught up in all of the psyops. People get caught up in the psyops all the time, and then they think that they're awake. They actually believe that they're awake, but they're not. They're just caught up in another psyop, and there's plenty out there. So the only way you can ensure that you're not being caught up in a psyop, the only way you can ensure that you are in possession of the truth, is to actually go and research this knowledge and study the ancient text for yourself. The most ancient, the better. The purest form, the better. Try not and look at footnotes. Try not and read anybody's book that's telling you what those texts mean. Okay, you want to read those texts for yourself, all of them. And I've got many different resources that you can click on the link and find on my website. I've got a whole library full of the different resources. On our MeWe group, I've got a library. It's just under the group guidelines. You'll see a library there with all the different links to all the different ancient texts. And there's a website called sacredtexts.com. And that is also an awesome resource for all of the ancient texts. Now, it doesn't mean that every text on there is actually going to be 100% authentic, okay, because they've just collated a lot of texts, and some of them have been written in the 1930s, and a lot, like there's a Gospel of Adam and Eve, and that's a load of rubbish, I mean, there's a lot of disinfo. You want to go back as far back as you can, okay, and you want to do it in its most purest form, and you also want to have a good understanding of the Hermetic principles, the 7 Hermetic principles, and I've done a live stream on that as well. Okay, so Jesus said, actually, and there's one in the sayings of Jesus that I really like about this one that he just said there, the no prophet is welcome in his home turf. I like the one, now the sayings of Jesus is another translation. I've got this underneath the video as well, but here, this is where it says it here. It says, Jesus said, the way of the prophets is a trail of tears. I have commissioned you to be prophets to this generation. Consequently, they will ridicule you, they will revile you, saying all kinds of bad things about you. What? Don't you know that they have always rejected the prophets whom I have sent among them? Yes, I tell you the truth when I say that even those who follow the prophets do not understand them, for they speak of things of the spirit which cannot be apprehended by the physical mind. The prophet is alone with the Elohim. For of all mortals, it is he who sees the reality which he cannot convey to his people. Lonely is the way of the prophet, but if he brings one soul one step closer to the light, all his loneliness and grief is justified. For great will be his joy in the heavenly realm, and he will become a great company at the seat of the highest. Jesus said, the person who stands alone will be with the Elohim. The person who is with the Elohim will stand alone. Anyway, there you go. I just thought that was a good way of translating that one too. All right. A city built on a high hill and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden. So a city built on a high hill and fortified cannot fall, cannot be hidden. Again, let's relate that to our soul, to our body, to our own home, our own fortress. And that just means that even though if you speak of this knowledge and you come on the radar of the evil in control of our world, which no doubt I eventually will if I already haven't, they cannot destroy my soul. Okay, they cannot destroy my soul. So, and it can't be hidden. So I cannot reveal this knowledge and also stay hidden from sight as well. I can't do both. I can't have the responsibility of putting all the pieces of this information and knowledge back together so that I understand what it is, knowing my responsibility that I have to tell others about it because they need to know what's been hidden from us and how to prepare themselves for what's coming. But I can't do that and remain hidden. But I also, even though I put myself out there, my soul is fortified. Okay, they will never destroy my soul. They can destroy my body, but they will never destroy my soul. So that's what that means. And that can be related to anybody who is relating this knowledge. And I would say that even people that were relating this knowledge back in 2012 and making certain discoveries and connecting those discoveries to the Vatican, they've also put themselves on the radar, even if they're no longer engaging in this research openly and publicly and still uploading content in regards to this knowledge. They are still going to be on the radar because of the discoveries that they have found, because they were very, very profound discoveries that took a certain perspective that not everybody has. And so that will set them apart from others, because that type of identifying that type of pattern is something that was quite profound. And so any of us that are engaging in this knowledge to that level, and I'm not just talking about people back in 2012, there are other students within of these teachings currently also still making content, okay, and still contributing. We're all on the radar, no doubt, okay. And we all know that. We all know that to that level, some more than others, when we're still actively engaged in this research. But even those who no longer are putting up content, they will know. They will know, because you can't hide that. Okay, you can't hide those profound discoveries. You just can't hide them. Okay, so and you only have to put in certain, search words and terms and that into Google to easily find the research of me and other researchers as well. So yeah, that's what that means. So, but you cannot destroy the soul. They may destroy the body, but you can't hide it either. When you're trying to reveal this knowledge to others, you can't hide it. You can't hide yourself. You could do one or the other. It's a double-edged sword. So that's pretty much what that means. And see, the next one, which is 33, and we know what an important number 33 is, right? So 33 is, and what you will hear in your ear, in the other ear, proclaim from your rooftops. After all, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, nor does one put it in a hidden place. Rather, one puts it on a lampstand so that all who come and go will see the light. Okay, so again, that's just reiterating the previous parable. It's saying that when you know something, when you know this knowledge, you have to tell others. You have to proclaim it from your rooftops. And remember what I was telling you guys in the last stream, that anyone that understands this knowledge to the level that you should understand it, then it is, you have to pay it forward. It is actually a responsibility of you to now start revealing this knowledge to others. And you don't have to do that to your inner circle, okay? Your family and friends, because we've already learned further back that you'll be rejected, okay? You do it in the way that you can do it. And so that is why we use their platform against us. Okay, not against us. They try and use it against us. We use the platform against them. Okay, we use their own tools that they have weaponized against us. We use them and weaponize it against them. And the more people who are relaying this knowledge, it weakens them. It doesn't weaken them a lot. Look, they have full control of our world right now, okay? But it does take some power away from them, and it empowers you. It shows the Creator that you are worthy of this knowledge, because you will stand against those who have sought to destroy our Creator and all that is divine. And so even if that is just visiting New Age videos and visiting Christian videos and just basically debating them with the truth and revealing the truth, then that is what you do. You do what is ever in your ability to do. But the fact of the matter is that you do have to do it. You do have to pay it forward, and it says it here. So it's not me saying it. It's telling you. You don't hear in one ear and then just keep it to yourself and covet it. You don't covet it and say, well, that's helped me. Now I know who I am. Thanks very much for that. See you later. Okay, and I know that there are a lot of people that do that. Okay, there was somebody following my stream in the beginning, and he has since been removed, and he had a pretty good understanding of this, and he just coveted it for himself, okay, and got very arrogant about it because he understood the knowledge, and so, you know, he was, you know, didn't need to listen to me. He had his own path, as he said, and off he went. Okay, so that's fine. Let's see how that actually plays out in the end when you have this knowledge, but you just covet it for yourself, for your own benefit, for your own selfish. That's being selfish, you know, and selfishly taking what was gifted to you and then keeping it for yourself instead of shining this light for others. Okay, and 9 out of 10 won't even listen to you. But it says even if one person. Okay, the other one that I was just reading from the Pearls, the sayings of Jesus, one person turns, that is going to affect the light within you, the Christ within you. That is going to lighten your heart because you are trying to help others. You are selflessly trying to help others, and you may become a martyr. That may happen. There were plenty of martyrs. There were people that died to make sure that we have this gospel now. Okay, millions of Cathars were slaughtered to death. All right, these were hidden away, and people were trying to protect this knowledge for us, and they were killed for it, burned at the stake for it. We owe them, okay, and we may then suffer the same consequence. We don't know, but if we're not fearing death, then it doesn't matter, does it? Because we now have the truth, so we shouldn't have to fear that anyway. But anyway, it just goes to show you that it says it in the Gospel of Thomas, the Nag Hammadi Gospels, the Scriptures. Jesus is telling you, the Christ is teaching you to tell others when you have an understanding for this knowledge. You need to share it with others to help enlighten others, to help enlighten the collective. That is how we serve the Creator, by enlightening the collective. Jesus said, if a blind person leads a blind person, both of them will fall into a hole. So all these people out here who are being led astray by these teachings, these fanciful teachings of the New Age that tell you what you want to hear, you know, a couple of these New Age gurus like Alan Watts is one, okay? Alan Watts. Never has there been a New Age guru that can say so much with saying so little. Okay, and whenever he talks about, you know, the Creator, it's the universe. He never says God, you know, it's the universe. It's, you know, it's always out there, and it's the universe, you know. And Terence McKenna was very, very similar, okay? And people love these guys, all right? People just love them. Like, they are the poster boys of the New Age community, all right? And literally it's because these people are just very ambiguous with how they explain esoteric knowledge. And it's always about, you know, vibration and energy. And it's not about vibration half the time unless it's meditating on vibration. But they always talk about energies, you know, and, you know, all of these catchphrases that they use all the time. They never talk about the soul. Greg Braden is the latest modern New Ager. he loves talking about the divine. He loves, bringing up a lot of the Christian. He was bringing up verses from the King James Bible the other day and the Bible, okay? He loves twisting them around, but you'll never hear him talk about the soul, okay? He reduces it all to DNA, to the body, okay, to all of the cellular parts of the body, the neurons within the heart, all of these little fancy things that sound great, but they never actually talk about the soul. And so that's what we need to do, go further than the body. We need to go, what is making the body operate? What is bringing life to the body? The chakras aren't attached to your body, okay? Your chakras are attached to your soul. They are points within the soul that attach the soul to the body. Okay, it's funny everyone talks about the chakras, but nobody actually talks about the soul. Everybody relates the chakras to the physical body, but nobody relates the chakras to the soul, okay, to the ethereal heart, to the third eye of the mind. Well, the mind is not a tangible thing. Okay, the brain is just the expression of the mind in the physical. Bring it back. Okay, everyone gets caught up in the brain, but what is firing the brain? What is making the brain fire off all those neurons, keeping the brain alive? That's the soul. That's the spirit within the soul. Okay, the life force of the Creator is animating the brain and the heart and the body. Okay, so I don't get why people just stop at the body, even though Hermetics tells us that we have to acknowledge the mind, the spirit, and the body, and yet people just will concentrate on the mind and the body and completely ignore the spirit. Well, the spirit is the soul, okay, and I'm here to remind everybody that we have to acknowledge the soul too, because that's what makes us a complete person, a complete being, is the mind, the body, and the soul. Right. So yeah, just basically if a blind person leads a blind person, both of them are falling into a hole. Well, you can pretty much call that hole the abyss, okay? Because after the reaping, after the sorting of the wheat and the tares, the weighing of the heart, the last judgment, those who have transgressed divine law and do not measure up, have been weighed and measured and found wanting, okay, their heart is not as light as a feather, they are going into the abyss and they are going to have their identities wiped from existence, okay? So that's what's going to happen. So that is where your identity of who you are, your essence of who you are, your personality, that is where that actually resides, in your third eye, in your Anja chakra, which is located at your third eye. Okay, and that is seated in your soul, which is your spirit. And your soul is seated at the solar plexus. Okay? One can't enter a strong person's house and take it by force without tying his hands. Then one can loot his house. Okay, so again, strong person's house. This is you, your house, your body. Okay? If somebody takes it by force, without tying your hands, so that means tying your brain up, your hands, like stopping you from expressing your consciousness in a correct manner. That is the only way they can tie you down. Okay, they can lead you astray, and they've done their best to do that. All right, they've got big neon signs at the moment showing us the false path. Come down here. Yeah, come and get shit-faced every weekend. Big neon sign. Yeah, change your gender. Oh, look, do whatever you want. You know, it's all love, mate. Love is love, isn't it? Just keep going down this path. Hey, bring your kids. Bring your kids. You know, like that's what they've done. They've not forced us to do that, right? They've just shown us a big neon sign and basically encouraged us to make the trek down that path. At any time we can turn and say no, because we are in control of our minds. They cannot control our minds and they cannot control our hearts. Okay, we are in control of that. Even if they corral us physically and they put us in these educational camps, which I think is coming for anybody that isn't aligned with the, approved narrative. I think we're going to be in these education camps, right? You can still be put in an education camp physically, right? So they're tying one hand behind your body physically. They can still, but really they can't, can they? Because your mind and your heart are still your own. And as long as you stay true to the teachings and who you are and know and remain in those truths, then they have no power over you. Okay, they really cannot tie you up. They really cannot have control of you. Okay, it's just an illusion of control. Even now, it's an illusion of control. All right, well, I'm going to leave it there, guys. We're up to 36. I'm going to circle that. So I'll just go back and have a look at a few of your comments. What are we up to? 2:34. Yeah, we've gone 2.5 hours. All right, let's go back. Yeah, talking to another in a Bluetooth. Well, the guy I saw the other day, he didn't even pretend to talk to somebody in Bluetooth. He was literally just talking to himself. So, indeed, there is no gospel from Jesus saying you need the clergy to find truth. That's right. There is no gospel from Jesus saying that at all. Nowhere. He says, seek and ye shall find. Okay? It says, go gather knowledge. It doesn't say... So if we're going and gathering knowledge, how can we gather knowledge from the Bible when the Bible is literally parables? It's not knowledge, it's parables. So knowledge gathering has to be done outside storytelling. So in itself, when it says go and gather knowledge, we're being told we have to go outside the Bible. It also said all scriptures are divine breathed. Okay, divine, all scriptures. Just because the Catholic Church and the Council of Nicaea 1700 years ago decided on what scriptures would go into the Bible that they have now, which they have edited and tweaked, doesn't mean that all scriptures before that time we now have to ignore, okay? Because there were hundreds of books. There wasn't just the books that they put into the Bible. You know, they only chose, I think it's 73, 66 for the Catholic Church, I think. And I think, no, the Catholic Church added 7 books, and I think 66 for non-Catholics. But anyway, regardless, okay, the Gospels are the Gospels. The Bible, the books of the Bible are just one collection, okay? So go and seek out knowledge, all knowledge that is divine revelation, and that is in the form of the Quran, the Hindu texts, Norse mythology, the Persian mythology, okay, the Torah, the Nag Hammadi Gospels, the Hermetic principles, the Kulbrin, all of the texts from Plato and the ancient philosophers, and Hermes, the Corpus Hermetica. I mean, guys, I can just keep going on and on. But as I've said, they're all listed. They're all listed in the MeWe group, the Keepers of the Flame, underneath the library. You'll see underneath the group guidelines. You'll see the library. No, Book of Urantia. I've looked into that. I am not aligned to that at all. No, don't need it. There's not 6 races. There's 4 races. There's 5 degrees. Okay, that's it. That's what's in all of the symbolism. That's what's in all of the cross-culture knowledge. Have a look at the Hopi Indians. Have a look at, the 4 creatures. Have a look at the 4 kings, the 4 sons in ancient Egypt. Have a look at the 4. I mean, look, I can go on and on and on, okay? It's repeated over and over and over again, okay? And this is the problem. If you get stuck in one book and it sounds interesting, but you don't cross-check it and you don't cross-reference it, okay? So no, I do not. Go and have a look into the book. Where was it located? Who wrote it? Who writes about it now? Who shares it now? Is it a New Age material? Do people in the New Age push it? Because I'd like to know who in the New Age is pushing the Nag Hammadi Gospels, okay? Because other than just using a few verses from the Gospel of Thomas, nobody ever speaks about the Nag Hammadi Gospels. That's how you know that these are the true Gospels, okay? So look, people can go read what they want. Personally, I would not read it, okay? And I've been asked about it before, and I've looked into it, and no, it did not ring any, I did not think that it was something that I have to pay attention to. Or at the moment, I'm actually reading the Bible of Sinai. And that so far is another version of Revelation, which sounds actually, so far I can't find any faults in it. So the Bible of Sinai, the Gospel of Sinai, the Book of Sinai, I think there's a few different words for it, but if you just look up Book of Sinai, yeah, that's what I'm reading. I think I'm about halfway through it at the moment. What accessible version of the Bible would be most beneficial and close to accuracy in symbolism and truth? I just kind of read all of them. I don't mind the Aramaic version interpretation, but really I just read them all, okay? Because pretty much they're all just saying the same thing. They just change out words, remove a word, add a word, but really when you've got the gist of it, you should be able to kind of read any version, and it doesn't really matter. Sometimes when I see a certain verse and there's something in it and I want to know whether it's been added to it, it just doesn't fit properly, I will go and just look at all the different versions and interpretations of that verse. I normally just go with the, I think it's the New English version when I'm reading the actual entire chapter. But it doesn't really matter. It's, it all comes down to you looking into it more deeply and just finding the similarities and where things don't add up. And a lot of it's been bastardized, and that means all the interpretations, okay? It doesn't just mean the later interpretation, because that's mostly where they've all come from, is later they've been reinterpreted, okay? But it's still been bastardized by the Catholic Church prior to that anyway. I mean, they've had 1700 years, guys, to make edits, okay? So, yeah, they've been doing it for a long time. Yes, Aussie Gold, yes. Right, that's interesting. If you can post that to me in the MeWe group, in the Keepers of the Flame, the interesting theory that you heard, where you got it. I don't care where you got it from, even if it's someone that is a New Ager, whatever. I just want to see it, because you know why? I've been very interested in time lately, and I've been very interested in the shortening of the days in the scripture, where it mentions that the days will be shortened. Very interested in time, how it speeds up towards the tipping point, 0 point, and how it follows along with the golden mean ratio moving towards, like, instead of expanding out from 0 point, going back towards 0 point. So I'm very interested in that, still getting my head around it. As you guys know, I'm not a mathematician, so I kind of need a bit of help with the mathematics side of it, because I'm not kind of getting the mathematics side. I'm finding some of the sacred geometry that fits in with my understanding of it, but I'm not really grasping it because it's beyond me. It's not my area. But anyway, yes. Yeah, I'm interested in that too. When I finish Gospel of Thomas, I'm going to do a live stream about time, so that will help me gather more information about that. So if you can post that in the Keepers of the Flame, or even if you just want to message me on MeWe, find my profile through the groups, and message me and send me that. I want to know. Okay. Or even under here, under this, I don't know if I've got that. I might have that turned off where people can't post links, because they always end up posting shit. But yeah, best way to get me is through MeWe, guys. Yeah, I know, Judith. Yeah, Kuma. Yeah, that's where that old woman was tasered. What asshole. What kind of shit stain on humanity would taser a 95-year-old woman? Seriously, if you're a copper and you need to taser a 95-year-old woman to take control of the situation, you are a failure of a human, and you need to leave the police force immediately. Yeah, okay, yeah, you kind of see it. And I did that with the Book of Adam and Eve. I got like halfway through it as well, and then I was like, what? No. Like, it just started, it's like they hook you in, And then they lost me halfway through because it was just way out there, not aligning to anything. Best way to find it aligns is just keep looking at all the other scriptures and seeing that it lines up. Gospel of Thomas is a great way to do it because it gives you the basics, okay? Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Philip. I wouldn't mind doing one on the Gospel of Philip. Gospel of Philip's a little bit more harder to interpret, a little bit more involved, but I wouldn't mind attempting that. All right. Yeah, channeled. Look, I'm not saying that all channeled knowledge, it mightn't have some of its truths, but we have to raise the bar really high in these times, guys. We can't afford to take in any information that we can't confirm its source. Okay, so in other times where you've got more access to knowledge and less corruption, less evil, less white noise, yeah. But in these times, look, my bar is so high at the moment when I'm trying to assert what is truth and what is falsehood that anything channeled, just automatically I have to dismiss it. So sometimes good information might go by the wayside because of that, but that's just how it is. Blood types, no, there's not really nothing to blood type, nothing physical. You will not be able to define a human, divine human soul through a blood type. Judith, they've been trying to define a divine human since they were operating on people during the Nazis, during World War II. That is why they created Hitler. They had all these doctors doing experiments on twins, okay, and evil, horrible, disgusting, just insanely inhumane, torturous experiments trying to find the Aryan bloodline. Okay, because Aryans are another word for divine. And even it was well known and documented that Hitler went to India in search of the Aryans as well. Okay, so he was very focused. That was what this whole search for the prime human that he was trying to create. That was just the cover story, but it was really about them trying to find the divine souls, and it's indefinable. You cannot find divinity through the physical body, not in these times anyway. Maybe when the divine are illuminated, of course things are going to change. There's going to be actual physical changes, but the way that the human body is at the moment with our divine portion in all of us is very faded. And so yeah, and I do think that there was a change to the sun. There was a researcher that they discredited who was looking into the sun, and he said that the sun is actually a black hole, and I believe that the sun, the center of the sun, can't remember his name. He was pretty well known around 2013 and 2012, and I was listening to a lot of his stuff, and he was very on point with a lot of his information, and they tried to make him to be a crazy and totally discredited him, even though he was a astrophysicist and he was university educated. I can't remember his name. You guys might remember his name. He ended up being infiltrated, and they ended up co-opting him in the end anyway, because he was obviously giving out too much really good information. But he said something once that just stuck with me, and he said the sun changed before World War II. It was around 1940. I can't remember, but the time he said the sun changed, I went and had a look, and it was all around World War II. So the sun changed, the sun did something different, and then obviously they thought that may have changed something within the divine souls, then that may relate to their physical body. And so they went looking, okay, and I no doubt was one of the reasons they started World War II. And it's all been orchestrated, guys. Eric Dollard, thank you, Bro T. Eric Dollard, absolutely. Eric Dollard. Go and have a look at some of Eric Dollard's research. Yes. Yeah, he was on point. He knew. He had a lot of good info. And then notice how he got co-opted with those guys that took control of all of his stuff. And then there was all this infighting, and then you don't hear about him anymore. Yeah, they always do it. They infiltrate. And he would have just been a trusting soul. He would have just believed if people wanted to fund him and help him out, and he was just co-opted, and then that just destroyed all of his credibility. Okay. All right. No, I don't think Jupiter's a binary star. No, no, no. I don't think so. I don't think so. No, not the way it moves around our star. A star and a planet are two different things. Planets may have some of the similarities to stars, but they're not black holes. They're not the same as a star. They don't emit this. The sun is special, and it is connected to our hearts, and whatever happens in the sun is connected also to the galactic core. There is a connection from the galactic core to the Orion Nebula and our sun and our hearts, and that is how the illumination is going to occur as well. Hearts and minds are joined as well. There is a reason that Jesus is holding a flaming heart. Okay, it's got nothing to do with romantic love or anything like that. People get caught up when you see hearts and the whole thing, and they start thinking that you're going to talk about love and romance and all that shit. No, okay, it's completely different. Love on that level is a completely different operation. It's got nothing to do with romantic love or loving someone or being infatuated with someone or having a romance or anything like that. It's completely different. It's a completely different thing, and it's a very, very involved and complex operation within, the divine scheme of everything. So, but anyway, yeah, look, Jupiter is important. I'm not saying that Jupiter's not important, but it's not going to be our binary. Have a look at the Hopi prophecy of the red Kachina and the blue Kachina. Whatever's coming, whatever object, wormwood, whatever you want to call it, the destroyer, it's not already in our solar system, okay? And if you go and have a look at what the Hopi say, it appears in our sky as a red star. So notice how they're talking about how they're literally saying that something's going to go supernova and we're going to start seeing a red star in our sky. I mean, I put that on that. I've got that Hopi prophecy. That was the first video I ever uploaded to YouTube. Okay, it's got so many views on it. It's like my best viewed. So excuse the crappy video that I was very, very new to everything, even that software. But yeah. It's going to be something we see, and I have posted, they were saying that in this year that we should actually see something supernova. Okay, now they're talking about Aldebaran, also that was doing unusual, but they're saying today, we just put something in the group. Lisa, one of the students, put something in Shift of the Ages, that they've just watched something in Canis Major, okay, which is very connected to the prophecy of Orion. If you look at Johann Friede's prophecy, he talks about Canis Major, Big Bear, right? They've just seen something go supernova. So I'm very interested if this supernova, okay, is going to be red or red looking, or so as soon as they start reporting on something that looks red, okay, pay attention, guys, because that is going to line up with the Hopi prophecy. All right, well, look, that is yeah, I often wondered if Sirius was the binary. I don't know that. You're just making speculating there. You can say it is Sirius that will turn red because it's getting closer. Or you're asking, okay, sorry, you've got a question mark. Look, I don't know, okay? I don't know. But when something does turn red, we will know. I don't think it's serious. I thought it was serious. Back in 2012, there was a lot of stuff about binaries. I was really caught up in it. I believe that there was a binary back then that was very strong with me. I do believe there's something to it. I don't know if it's a binary in the sense that we understand what a binary is, or it's just a celestial object that does orbit, has a large perihelion, and that passes by and changes our sun and changes everything on our planet, that helps to bring in the changes that we are seeing, or whether it is just a signifier as well, and it is just part of the changes. Don't have enough information, but definitely, yes, something. That's what they're watching. I mean, the Vatican have got the best observatory in the world, guys. They literally, their telescope they called Lucifer. They've since taken all reference to Lucifer away now, but at some stage back in 2012, they called their telescope Lucifer, okay? And they are watching, and they are funding astronomy in a big way because they're watching for changes up there. But the changes are going to happen with our sun. We will see it with our sun anyway, and the sun is exhibiting changes. Even in this solar cycle, it's doing things that it's not done before, okay? And even the way that we are connected now to the sun so actively that when there's a small flare, we are seeing it register it and ionizing the top of our atmosphere straight away. That's never happened before. I used to watch the solar activity last solar cycle. There could be flares last solar cycle and it wouldn't immediately affect our upper atmosphere, but we are seeing it ionize our upper atmosphere. Wow, I've nearly gone into 3 hours. Can you believe that? Right, so Beetlejuice. It might be Beetlejuice. Yeah, actually, Aussie Gold, I think you're right. I think it was Beetlejuice. It wasn't Aldebaran. No, it was Beetlejuice. It was making, so it could be. And, they did that movie, Beetlejuice, as well. And they like to put out these little foreshadowing, little hints, these little symbols. So, look, it could be that Beetlejuice is also... I don't think Beetlejuice is what the Hopi were talking about and isn't Wormwood or the Destroyer, but it could be just another signifier that when the ether starts coming in a big tide of ether starts really moving into our solar system, that is what changes Sirius. That is what changes, Beetlejuice. That is what changes the sun. Okay, but because the sun is the closest to us and that we watch it so closely, we will start to see more changes on the sun. All right, guys, I'm going to finish it up now because, oh my God, I have gone to nearly 3 hours. Thank you guys for making this stream so enjoyable to start with. To, all of you for staying around to the end. Now, big announcement. Drum roll. No longer going to be doing streams on a Monday morning, my time, which is Sunday night, your time. I know. I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to be conducive with you guys in the US anymore. I just find it's really difficult for me to do the streams in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm a night person. I always have a foggy brain when I get up. I find it hard to explain things. I don't feel that the stream flows as well as it could. When I'm actually doing the live streams at night, when I do my live streams, just impromptu ones when something pisses me off and I go, right, I'm doing one. I'm going to say something about this. And I normally do a live stream. It just flows so much. I actually enjoy them. Okay, and I actually, really flow with it. And it's because I've just got my, everything's just kind of working. My brain's working. My brain's, geared up and working properly. So I'm going to change the streams to Wednesday night my time. So I'm going to do a video. I'll put a video about that, make an announcement. So it'll be very, very early in the morning for you guys over in the US. I'm thinking about 4:30, 5:30. But you'll still be able to watch the videos. And that's really what it's about. You'll still be able to watch the videos. So I apologize for that. It's just going to be flowing a lot better and easier for me because I'm actually on my weekend now. So Monday, Tuesday are my weekends. And so the first day of my weekend, I have to still get up really early. And that sucks. So, and my brain just does not work as well as at night time when I'm kind of, the wheels are greased, the cogs are moving, and it flows a lot better. So, no worries, guys. Well, I'm going to leave it here. And I hope you guys have a great week. And as always, peace out.